And welcome all to Hampton, Georgia, to the Atlanta Motor Speedway for some more Spartans Masters Series action here this week on this fine Tuesday evening. I'm Austin Edstrom, standing alongside Joe LaCastro, and this week we got Taylor Burris behind the production booth giving us all the fantastic camera angles that he can find around this 1.5-mile super speedway hybrid. Joe, I don't know how much experience you got at the new Atlanta Motor Speedway. Personally, I think it's a lot of fun, awesome to watch, kind of reminiscent of the old Daytona, where it's not just beating the ever-living hell out of the back bumper of the guy in front of you. Rather, you're worried about handling. You're worried about trying to build a run on the guy in front of you in your own way, rather than just crazy bump drafts like we saw 1 week ago at the Daytona International Speedway. So, Joe, what are you thinking coming into this week? What do you think of the track?
I'm kind of excited now that you talked about it like that. Hearing that it's going to be a hybrid track, it's going to be a little bit of column A and column B has got me fired up. I like high banking. I like flying into the turns, and I gotta admit that sometimes I like to see how these guys handle when they fly out of four and they have to try to keep things straight, and it's just really exciting stuff. So I'm looking forward to it.
You know, I did mention that, it's a little bit different, like not as heavy bump drafts, not as big of hits, but honestly, they still come pretty plenty, right? But you're building the runs in a different way. I feel like coming off of turn 4, you don't even have to get a push off the corner. You're just going to get a little push of the bubble, right? You're going to get a little bit of an air push from the car behind rather than a full-on bump draft. And you can just slingshot right up to the guy in front of you. Now, you're going to see a lot of people stay in line tonight, especially when they're stuck on the bottom side of the racetrack. They'll end up hitting the guy in front of them. It'll look a lot like Daytona last week, but there are different moves you can make here. It's almost like you don't necessarily have to wait on a push for somebody. It definitely helps. It absolutely helps to be hooked up with somebody, but I just feel like there are more ways to work the draft at a place like Atlanta with this new configuration that you don't have to worry about quite as much of the team game, quite as much of just getting on the back bumper of somebody and shoving. I feel like you can kind of manage the draft like you could back in the 2000s at Daytona and Talladega.
Well, if we've got a little bit of draft here and a little bit of draft management, that means that we're looking at some of the guys who did well at Daytona potentially to do well this week as well. Remember last week it was Justin Levine who came across the line, Kyle Gerlach in second. So maybe those will be a few names that might do well this week. What do you think?
I think that's a good shout. And also, I kind of mentioned the handling comes into play more here, right? This is a bumpy racetrack compared to Daytona and Talladega. Well, I say that. I guess I race in Scandal and hopefully the result. In real life, it's aging unbelievably quick for a racetrack. But in the service, still relatively smooth. But I even with that, there are some bumps 3 and 4. You can make that outside line work in a really cool way to build momentum off the corner. I just think that there's so many different things that you can do with a racetrack like Atlanta that you can't do at Daytona and Talladega these days in the next-gen car. And I think that that's going to kind of lend this race more towards the guys that are a little bit more skillful with the handling of the race cars, right? Daytona and Talladega can kind of be a little luck, make sure you dodge the wrecks, and Atlanta will definitely be the same way, but I just feel like it really lends itself to promote the driver skill that we see on a typical mile and a half because of the way that this track is laid out.
Okay, well then it's going to be a good race. I'm locked in. My experience is relatively low, so every time that we do one of these races, I'm just an open book, kind of writing in the notes as we go, and I learn a lot. Sitting up here with you, watching these guys race, and I think this is going to be another week where maybe Jolo picks up a few things.
And a little bit.
I am going to do it every time. Oh, no, wait, forget it. I got to find a new one.
I just want to throw up the double bird every time you say that. I'm telling you that.
I didn't even think about it.
Anyway,
think about it.
Well, one big thing we got to talk about for this week, because it's a little bit different at Atlanta this year. We've got that new double pit road, kind of. They didn't do it quite like it is in real life, where you go, I believe it's 90 miles an hour around the apron of turns 3 and 4 for the pit road entrance, and then 45 for pit road speed. Instead, it's no pit road speed until you get to the normal pit entrance that we all know and love coming off of turn number 4, to where you have to get down to that 45 or 50 miles an hour. But you can just fly through the apron of turns 3 and 4 as long as you don't go above that white commitment line entering the corner. So Do you think anybody's going to mess up the pit road entry tonight? Because I'm leaning towards yes.
Well, you know, fuel always plays a bit of a strategy here on SSRL. So if we have clean racing, we're going to have green flag pit stops. And when we have green flag pit stops, it's always just a matter of, do I pit now? Do I pit now? Do I pit now? Oh, he's going. I'm going to go. And so, yeah, we're going to end up seeing, I bet we'll see someone come screaming across that line.
Well, it looks like we're getting ready to get this one started. I believe the warm-up period has just ended here from the Atlanta Motor Speedway, so we're getting ready to run down our full grid here tonight as the field is starting to get set up on pit road. And it looks like Joseph Kazi's up on the pole tonight with Chad Gunningsman in the second place position. Robert Besaw Jr. is going to be starting in third on the inside of row number 2 with Kalen Mitchell on his outside in fourth. Kyle Gerlach is starting in the 5th place spot with David Mayberry in the 6th place position. Johan Seminario starting in 7th with Kyle Westwood on his outside in 8th. And then we got Mark Sanchez and Evan Ethel rounding out the top 10 here tonight.
Moving on from the top 10, we've got PB Henry in the 11th spot with Kevin Zosiak in 12th. Jose Medina in 13th with Justin Levine, the winner of last week at Daytona, in 14th. Reese Schaefer in 15th. 16th, that's James McRae. 17th, Jordan Sailors. 18th, Christoph Hall. 19th, Scott Healy. And 20th, Cody Riggs.
21st place is going to be Adam Pettit with Sammy Harrell on his outside in 22nd. Charles Van Schack starting in the 23rd place spot with Cody Curran on his outside in 24th. David Salter rounds out the top 25 with Jeffrey Goodpaster in 26. Art Nicotera and Chris Hudson are in 27th and 28th with Lou Christian and Jarrett Feltman rounding out the top 30. And then 31st is Scott Schroeder. 32nd is Colton Gardner. 33rd, Corey Adkins. And rounding out the 34-car field here tonight from the Atlanta Motor Speedway is going to be Chad Kibbe. We apologize for not having the little rows showing up on the bottom here. Unfortunately, we had to do a little switcheroo with the producers tonight. Our new producer does not have those on his computer. Unfortunately, Austin Derbyshire stuck in the hospital this weekend. He was trying to go to Daytona, and unfortunately, well, he caught the bad luck bug and a different kind of bug because he's been down and out. Wishing the best for Austin Derbyshire. Hopes and prayers that he ends up making a full recovery and will be 100% okay and can hopefully go to Daytona again in the future and can also be back with us for the Spartans Masters Series here really soon. But nonetheless, in the meantime, we've got Taylor Burris behind the production booth, and he's going to do a fantastic job as he always does as the field is rolling through 3 and 4 here at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. We're getting ready to get this one kicked off with Joseph Kazi and Chad Gunningsman on the front row. Don't see Chad too frequently in the Spartans Master Series, but he's making the return here tonight at Atlanta. Joseph Kazi down on the inside in that DeWalt paint scheme. Going to be bringing us down to the green flag for the first time tonight, and we're racing from the Atlanta Motor Speedway.
Decent launch on the inside there from Joseph Kazi, getting things lined up really good with the 79 of Chad Genningsman right behind him. Going into 1 and 2, Genningsman, whoop, bit of a slide there, but it looks good. A second line is forming, but I think people are trying to decide if they're going to stay up there on the upper groove or get down to the inside as fast as possible.
Single file through the top 4 through turns 3 and 4. First side-by-side battle for the 5th place spot. Kyle Gerlach down there on the bottom side. David Mayberry on the outside with a little bit of help from Kyle Westwood coming down into turns 1 and 2. They're starting to fade back ever so slightly. Gerlach going to the middle lane through 1 and 2, catching a little bit of clean air through the center of the corner. We're going to see a lot of checkups on the bottom side of the racetrack. I mentioned that we don't have as much of the crazy bump drafting like we see at Daytona and Talladega. It's still absolutely there, and the checkups are absolutely still there, especially on the bottom. Oh, speaking of the bottom, Johan Seminario trying to get to the bottom of Kyle Gerlach here, coming out of turn number 4. A little aggressive there from the 56, not able to get down to the inside, but those guys keep it off of each other, keep it clean. But those little moments are going to cause those stack-ups, those checkups that I've been talking about. And at the bottom here, on a little 1.5 miles of a super speedway, the checkups are even bigger, and it could cause some big issues, especially down the back straightaway.
Seminario is hot on the heels of Gerlach, and I think he's trying to avoid that checkup situation. He's given him just a little bit of space. It's not quite as tight as it was last week. There's a little bit more flow here, and I think that space is necessary, like you said, to avoid losing your handling. Those little bumps when you're in the turns, they get amplified. And on a track like this, it looks like that the amplification, that's the word I want, is going to be really enhanced.
Yeah, and those little bumps, the handling that we've been talking about, it just gets exacerbated throughout the run, right? You get 30, 40 laps into a set of tires, and all of a sudden the front end starts going. You start getting tight coming out of both corners. You open up opportunities for guys to make a move down to your inside. And speaking of move down to the inside, here comes Johan Seminario. You can tell he wanted to get there for a while. Finally there, Gerlach throws a block up top, as it looked like Sanchez was trying to make a move on his outside through turns 1 and 2. Sanchez may have scraped the wall ever so slightly, but ends up being, or sorry, that was not Sanchez. That was, couldn't quite tell who that was on his outside there for a moment. Looks like it was David Mayberry that was trying to get to his outside, but nonetheless, all these guys starting to stack up now behind the 7th place position. Gerlach still stuck on the outside after Johan shucked him out there.
Yep, that beautiful 57 chrome machine of Dave Mayberry is still behind Gerlach. Gerlach popped up there on the outside line, and I'm not sure if he really intended to stay up there or just wanted to throw the block on Dave. But now he's got a line to lead on the upper groove, and is the upper groove really a strongly viable groove here at Atlanta? What do you think?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. It's definitely strong and viable. The problem is you wear out your stuff faster, right? You definitely use the tires up a little bit more. And it's not necessarily that it's bumpier. Maybe through 3 and 4 it's a little bumpier than the bottom side. 1 and 2 it's relatively flat. You're not really pushing anything too hard. It's just the fact that you've got more throttle in it through the center of the corner. You're using a little bit more of the tire to keep yourself, keep the momentum up to be able to get that run down the straightaway. So just over the course of the entire run, you absolutely burn up the right front a little bit more being on the top side of the racetrack, especially whenever you see this long line of cars on the bottom that are, leaving each other a lot of space down the straightaway. You can tell that they're saving their tire a little bit. They're not going 100% down the straightaways because they would get much bigger runs than they're currently getting. You can tell there's a little bit of maybe gas saving, a little bit of tire saving here in the early going.
Just a bit. There is a pack of 4 that has lost the heat a touch. They're at the back of the line. I'm not sure what happened, but they're out of the bubble. Up here at the front, though, everybody else has stayed together pretty well. The cohesion of this group going into lap 8 is pretty solid. We've gone 8 laps. We've got one good line down on the inside. The upper line just hasn't quite. I haven't been talking much about Kyle Gerlach making many passes because right now he still is on the outside of PB Henry, and I don't think he's made much headway past that point.
No, he's just kind of been stalled side by side with about the Zodiac Henry area, right about 10th, 11th place on the inside line. Gerlach trying to lead the outside, but he's not getting a huge push, right? On the outside, you can really get on somebody's back bumper and shove the ever-living hell out of them, give them a big run. Right now, Gerlach's not getting a ton of help from Mayberry. Mayberry's not getting a ton of help from the car behind, so that's why I'm really just kind of pushing towards the side of these guys are really just taking care of their stuff here early, right? Long 156 lap race. We know we have the stage break at lap 65. It's just not go time for a lot of these guys. Now Gerlach's starting to make a little bit of momentum here down the back straightaway, and then through turns 3 and 4, able to get even with Kevin Zodiac in that number 15 down on the bottom side, starting to fall back down the front straightaway ever so slightly. But you can tell just how wide Gerlach's running. Oh, stack up on the bottom. He's going to get past Evan Ethel to the right rear of Mark Sanchez. That was a big moment from Evan through 1 and 2, getting stacked up, getting a little squirrely. But you can tell Gerlach is leaving a lot of room on the bottom. He's not getting down there and side drafting the heck out of somebody. He's just kind of letting the car do its own thing. Oh, Westwood goes for the block, but Gerlach does not want him to get up in front of him. Gerlach's going to continue that momentum to the front.
He almost goes to the wall here in the tri-oval. He's back into the top groove. He's got the help again from Mayberry. That stack up from Ethel could have been a lot worse than it was. It definitely caused a bit of a traffic snake situation for the cars behind him, though. If that tight group that we previously had on the inside line has fallen apart here a little bit. Now we have eyes on Kyle Westwood as he bridges the gap between Seminario and the 29 of Mark Sanchez on the inside line. Evan Ethel still back a little ways now. Was moving a little bit squirrely down on the line. We'll see if there's something else going on there. I don't think there's anything wrong with his vehicle. There wasn't really enough contact to cause any trouble, but Evan Ethel still a little ways back from the 29 of where he was.
Yeah, Evan not quite able to make up that ground just yet, but somebody who is making up the ground. Well, finally, Evan starting to get up to the back bumper, coming down to 3. But man, Gerlach is continuing that momentum at the top. Like I said, he's not really side drafting. He's not pinching these guys. He's giving it plenty of room. He's just continuing that momentum off the top side of the racetrack, using absolutely all of the corner that he can, keeping the wheel as straight as possible, making sure he doesn't scrub any speed through the center of the corner, and it's working for him so far. He's getting side by side with Johan Seminario for the 5th place spot now. The guy that forced it down to his bottom about 10 laps ago, he's back to his outside.
Yes, it is. It's, yeah, you know what? Patience pays off, especially on tracks like this, the super speedway setup. Patience pays off, and this is a time when Kyle Gerlach's patience is paying off. He's only got 3 cars up there with him, and I say that because, you know, usually the more cars, the more likely you are to see that line make some headway. But in this case, his patience with these guys and just using every ounce that Seminario just vanished there for a second. Using every ounce that he's been getting from Mayberry has been helpful. Mayberry with a big shunt to the back of Gerlach there. A nice push into the turn here. That's going to give him just a touch more momentum. And I think pretty soon we might see him side by side with Seminario.
Gerlach is he going to take the bottom side? He's trying to get the draft, I believe, from Johan. I still feel like he's going to pull back up to the top, just kind of taking the draft, trying to keep as much momentum as possible, pull Mayberry with him now down the back straightaway, but doesn't look like it's going to work out. He's going to fade back down to the bottom side of the racetrack in front of Kyle Westwood, get him into the 6th place position. But, I mean, good job from Gerlach, right? He got forced too wide coming down to turn 1 while he's running 5th by Johan. Went back to about the 11th place spot on the outside. Just stayed with it. Got a little bit of help. All of a sudden, got himself right back behind Johan and can just kind of mosey on through on the bottom side of the racetrack as the top 5 kind of have a gap over everybody else, and then 6th and 7th in no man's land between the 2 packs.
That's right. The 55 of Jordan Sailors is able to find home on the inside line now. It's just Mayberry on the outside, and that Chrome 57, he's looking for a spot probably on the inside too. He's a man alone now. No help. He's going to be falling back car after car. Unfortunately now Mayberry down 10 positions from where he started. He's just trying to find a spot to get that slot on the inside. I think he might have one here. Let's see if he takes it. Nope. It's not going to happen. So hopefully soon Mayberry will be able to find a spot and avoid losing some more positions.
And this is tough if you're Mayberry. Each time that you see a little gap, you just want to turn hard left and take it, right? But you just know it's so early in this thing, you don't want to completely tear up your race car. But at the same time, you don't want to bleed 20 positions like we just saw him do. You know, it only took 3 cars on the top side of the racetrack to mosey on up to the top 10, just about to the top 5. But as soon as 2 of those cars ducked out on him, it looked like he popped a parachute, right? I mean, he went straight backwards, and those runs that those guys had was unbelievably quick. Now, I got to point out, I'm starting to see some people struggling with that right front tire coming out of some of these corners. I just saw Kalen Mitchell from the 3rd place spot really wash up the bottom of the racetrack coming out of turn number 2. So we got to keep watching coming out of these corners. How much do each of these race cars wash out? Do they open up an opportunity for somebody to shove their nose down to the bottom side coming out of one of these corners?
It's a good question. We do have some side-by-side racing still occurring here on the track, though. If we look back a little ways, here comes a line on the top. That's Reese Schaefer leading the pack there in the 97. Behind him, Justin Levine in the 1. Levine, the winner from last week, looking to make some distance, make his way back up to the front. He's 4 positions up from where he started. This outside line could be getting some help from the previous winner. See if they make some headway up and can get past the distance that Gerlach made it. And they're coming up on Kyle Gerlach right now.
Yeah, these guys absolutely flying up on the top side of the racetrack. Reese Schaefer leading that pack, and we're starting to get some more cars jumping out to the outside. I see Kevin Zosiak and PB Henry noticing what this group of 4 cars is doing on the top side, and they've jumped up there as well. So there's 3 more cars trying to make their way up to this pack of 4 on the top side. Now Johan Seminario jumping out to the outside, kind of giving a bit of a draft, but not completely committing just yet to that outside groove. It could be pulling him along, but if he pulls him along too well, they're going to have too good of a run for him to block. Coming through 1 and 2, though, looks like he's found himself an opportunity. He gets up to the top side of the racetrack right behind Robert Besaw Jr., and it looks like the 97 of Reese Schaefer is going to stay committed to that back bumper as we come down into turn number 3. Give him a huge shot to the outside as we come down into 3. Johan Seminario with the move to the outside of Besaw for 4th.
Seminario, that smooth move was exactly what Reese Schaefer knew was the signal. Gave him a nice clean bump, too. It's exactly what he needed to stay ahead of the pack and not cost him any momentum. Although it does look like things have stalled out a little bit now. We're side by side with Rob Besaw. Besaw, about a half car length. Can he get it? Nope, not with the bumps coming from Reese Schaefer, but Schaefer back now into Sailors just a little bit. Or excuse me, into Justin Levine just a little bit for a second. Looks like they got things sorted out though.
Top three broken away on the bottom side of the racetrack, but no help from behind, while the top three on the top side of the racetrack are nose to tail. And heck, you can throw Scott Healy and Jordan Sailors into that mix as well. Johan fading down to the bottom, trying to get a draft, but he's got a huge lead over that top side groove. How big is the run? Going to come from the 97. Levine all over the back bumpers. They head down into turn number 3. Reese gives a huge shot to the 56 as they enter the corner, shooting Johan up the track. But they're all going to hang on to it, still coming through turns 3 and 4. Not really get the run that I expected on the top 3 with that big shot.
Yeah, that was a big push, but it almost looked like a check that Reese Schaefer wasn't ready to cash. There was just a little bit of oscillation after that shunt. Anything harder than that, and he would have had to fight for more control of the vehicle than I think he wanted to. That was about as good as it gets, and it still didn't have really enough to get them. I guess now if you look at it, it just got him enough to get up to that spot, but I think that has more to do with him getting in the bubble of Kalen Mitchell.
They found themselves a hole from 4th to 7th, including Scott Healy, but now Johan looking to the outside of Kalen Mitchell for the 3rd place position. They just jumped down to the bottom because they all got clear. They wanted the draft off the 67 so they could pull up, and now they're just going to pull right around them through turns 1 and 2. Kalen Mitchell with just about no help until Besaw finally gets down there at the end of the back straightaway, but Johan already clear coming down to turn 3 and 4. I think he needs to check his internet connection, but he's gotten himself up to the 3rd place position with a big shove from Reese Schaefer over and over and over again. And it looks like Chad Gunningsman and Joseph Ghazi are just kind of sitting ducks up there at this point. Do they move up or do they stay down on the bottom?
I think they go down. I think they're going to go to the bottom and hold on to it. It looks like that's the case for one of them at least. Kazi's going to stay at the top. I think he sees the threat coming. Wait a minute. Nope, he's down to the bottom, throwing blocks now. Back up to the top. He says, no, Seminario. I'm going to stay in front of this group.
Ozzy with the big block out of turn number 2. Almost got turned off the nose of the number 56 as we come out of turn number 4. Working lap number 27, coming to 28. Already 27 laps in the book of this thing, and I feel like we just started. That's how fast the lap times click by at the Atlanta Motor Speedway in the draft. These guys just absolutely flying lap after lap. 30-second lap times, pretty consistent throughout the pack. I mean, we're just absolutely clean.
Whoa!
Seminario go spinning off the nose of Reese Schaefer down to the pit road entrance, but it looks like there's no more contact involved. The 56 able to hang on to that thing, just spin it around a couple times, and nobody else gets involved, but off of the front bumper of his teammate coming down the back straightaway. And I got to think that that's because of the blinking. He blinked out right before that incident happened. I think they got misaligned whenever he blinked out. Reese couldn't see him, ended up going left, and well, ended up being the wrong call.
I think you're exactly right. That was a netcode situation where one car was just reset probably right in the bumper of the other one when he reappeared. Let's get a little way back machine action here. Take a look at the replay. That's Seminario up top. We see the blink, and then as soon as he's back, that's Reese Schaefer giving him the spin. Completely unintentional, obviously. Glad to see he didn't collect anybody else in there. Almost does. Just puts that back right tire on the line for a split second. Stays below it. And he's going to race more. He's going to stay in the race.
Rest of the field coming down pit road here in the early going. So we're going to go ahead and take our first commercial break of the racing action. Whenever we come back, we're going to take you to the end of stage number 1.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series in officially licensed cars engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Welcome back to the Spartans Master Series. Coming down to the green flag, Joseph Ghazi. I always get those two confused. Joseph Ghazi bringing us down to the green flag here as we come back from the commercial break and get back under the green flag. Lap number 32. Ghazi's led every single lap so far.
Yes, he has. He got out in front. Once he did, it has been very much Joseph Ghazi's game. He was the pole position. He's sitting there right now. He's got Reese Schaefer there. Reese Schaefer, unfortunately, was involved in a brief spin that sent Johan Seminario down to the inside and gave us our first yellow flag of the race. Seminario back in the race, though, sitting down around 19th. We're going to see him probably later on. I bet he's going to make his way back up here. But right now, out in front, it's Ghazi, Schaefer, and Scott Healy for your 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, and it's a big breakaway for the top 6, and then, well, everybody else is 2x2 a little bit further back. Not sure exactly what happened in the middle of the pack, but man, they're side by side for 7th on back. Kevin Zosiak down to the inside through 3 and 4, getting a shove from Kyle Westwood. These guys now just trying to play catch up on the main pack.
This is interesting. This is a little different than we had going on earlier. The front pack was definitely more cohesive. Now the front pack is way more spread out than it was during the first part of this race. So this sets up a different bit of a different kind of a dynamic in terms of the pack situation. But we'll see where the new pack leaders, the mid pack leaders, are now as the race continues.
They are just on the edge of the slipstream of the guys in the main pack. In fact, now I believe that they've probably got it with Charles Van Schack going to the high side, dropping back to the 6th place spot. I think that he's kind of given these guys an opportunity to catch back up, as it looks like Van Schack's just trying to catch that lead group all by himself now, as they're all lined up 1 through 5. Kazi, Schaefer, Healy, Gunningsman, and Mitchell. One thing, under the caution flag, Justin Levine, he worked his way up from the back of the pack up to 3rd place before that caution flag flew. Well, he sped on pit road like a big old dummy-dum, so he's now at the back of the pack. He's having to come through with his teammate Johan after he got spun down pit road.
Yikes. Well, that's going to be an interesting spot to find themselves, but it's early in the race. We're on 35 of 156. So there still is plenty of time for these guys to make up some speed and to make up some distance. The one sim guys, they're some of the more competitive guys on the field, so don't count them out yet.
Apologies to everybody in chat for the audio breaking up or any cracking. If it happens again, please let us know as well. I do have my stream audio turned down so that I don't hear myself twice 10 seconds later. But if you hear anything else, please give us the heads up so that we can try to get any audio issues fixed, as we still got a big mayhem through the middle of the pack. Not really everybody committed to one line, even though it's single file. It's just some guys are down at the bottom, and then it kind of squiggles up to the top, and then there's finally 2 cars down at the bottom. So a lot of disorganization from about 15th on back, and it's kind of hurting this entire second group of the pack. They've completely fallen off the back bumper of Charles Van Schack. I thought they were going to be able to get back up to him, but it's just kind of hovering at that 8th to 9th second of a gap, right? And Charles Van Schack with the 0.8 of a second currently over Kevin Zosiak, and way back here, these guys not really running the same line. It's a little confusing back here mid-pack.
Yeah, it is a little confusing. I see a lot of attempts at opportunism that seem to result in people just running the middle line, and I see, that sense of opportunism, that sense of, hey, maybe I can get some speed here. That's kind of permeating the middle pack right now, and there's not really a heavy drive from them to work together. That's robbing everybody of speed.
Yeah, Zosiak has now brought the second pack up to the main one. It's become one big pack. But the problem is everybody here from Kyle Gerlach on back, they've kind of been racing each other. And, Gerlach's got a little bit of front end damage. Now that I'm looking at it, it looks like the nose is pushed in. Oh, Robert Beesaw just about wrecked himself over the nose of Gerlach. They're 3 wide now in this second pack. So everybody from 20th on back, they're just kind of shooting themselves in the foot. They're not working together. They're all stepping on each other's dicks.
Yep, that's one way to put it. It is definitely that kind of party, unfortunately. But here it looks like things have calmed down. Beesaw is now down on the inside. He was getting flushed there for a second down through the middle, but then he found a spot now behind the 57 of Dave Mayberry. So the guys in the back, they were at each other's throats, or at each other's something else's, and now looks like they're forced to kind of realize, hey, we're not going to catch anybody unless we just get into a straight line and drive these cars.
Yeah, just like the main pack has done here, right? So we finally got, the first 19 have all kind of figured it out. They've all caught each other back so that, there's not really any problems in the top 19. And even 21st on back, right? They've gotten it sorted out to where they're single file. It's 19 cars all lined up single file in front of them. So good luck to Jordan Sailors, who's leading this second pack with Cody Curran behind him. It doesn't really matter how hard you push at this point. You've got less cars. I don't think that you're catching this main pack, man, 2.5 seconds behind unless there's a big issue in the main pack.
Yeah, there needs to be a big issue in the main pack, and right now there just isn't. And at the front, the front, you've got a group of teammates who have a lot of cohesion, leading a line of cars that are in really good lockstep in terms of the situation that they're in. They're on 43 of 156. We're going to 65 for this stage. We're not even at the stage where you need to be pushing for stage points yet, as Seminario is side by side right now. They're trying to make a pass by himself. Who is that he's passing? The 92 of Kyle Westwood. But I think that everyone knows what point of the race we're at the front. And I think the message is slowly filtering through the pack.
I like this move from Johan. I like going to the outside, trying to pinch the guy down, trying to pick up as much spots as possible. The problem is, if you don't have anybody going with you, you can't continue that pinching motion, right? He's pinching hard through 1 and 2, separating the guy on his inside from the pack in front, right? It's the right move. It pulls the guy back so that you can maybe get a run. But the problem is, if you don't have any freaking help, you just end up separating your pack, your group, from your lane on back. You separate them from the guys in front, and you see it separated Westwood ever so slightly. Westwood got clear. Oh, Evan Ethel with a bit of a moment down the front straightaway. They're getting a little argy-bargy back here by Johan. 3 wide coming down to the turn number 1. Looks like they're going to get that sorted out, but it's created this mayhem now, and it's created this second pack. It's not what Johan was trying to do. He was trying to make some passes. The problem is, it has separated these guys. We learned it last week at Daytona. You get side by side, you use that side draft way too heavy, and you can actually pull yourself apart from the main pack. I just think that's what Johan did there. He's trying to be a little bit too aggressive with no help. If he had help, it would have worked.
Yep, you're exactly right. I couldn't have put it better myself. It pulls both lines back just that little bit, but we can see that how much that compounds over a couple of laps if you maintain that manner of side drafting, even by yourself. He was a single car, and he managed to create a whole second pack over the course of 2 laps just by side drafting really heavily and pulling back there. Now he's got to rely on the same guys that he pulled away from the pack to push him back up there, finally, but he's going to do it from the inside line instead of the outside.
So Johan getting a big shove from Jarrett Feltman. They're trying to just make up ground. Now back up in the main pack, it's kind of separating itself into 2 distinct groups. The top 5 running the bottom, and then the 6th through 10th. Kind of a lane up. They fade down, trying to get a draft down the straightaway, but you can tell Van Schack wants to go to that outside. He wants to make some moves, trying to get that 0-0 up to the front of the field. He's trying to go to the outside of Caleb Mitchell again, but I just feel like he went too high there through 3 and 4. If he pulls out to that right rear quarter panel with Caleb Mitchell and sucks him off those guys of the main pack, lower their numbers down to 4, keep your number at 5, and just continue that train moving. It could have worked out, but instead, they cycle back in 6th and 7th, and now they're side by side behind him, and he's losing his help.
Yeah, it's not really adding up for him, but he's got these moments of like bursts of momentum, and it seems like he's trying to find just a way to use the car to stay fast. But then as soon as he loses that burst of momentum, it's over, and without the help from behind him to make that move, to move to the outside, especially from Zodiac, has got to be absolutely keyed in on this. It's not going to add up to a pass. He's got to stay where he's at right now. He's got to be happy behind Kalen Mitchell, at least for a little while, and just enjoy the fact that he can save some gas back here.
Here comes the 28 on the outside. David Salter with some help from PB Henry. Again, they're just really high up the racetrack. I like that they're not necessarily side drafting like we saw Johan do earlier, where it's such a heavy pinch that it pulls them into 2 separate packs, but they're not really using the runs to their advantage at the most point, right? Like they're going so high up through the corner that there is 0 side draft happening. You're not pulling anybody back, and then your run kind of stalls up because you've driven up the racetrack. So these guys just kind of stalling out around the 8th, 9th, 10th place positions. And now him and David Salter and Westwood now side by side, all by themselves. It all just depends on who PB Henry goes with at this point. But they've got to get the move on because they're starting to lose the main pack themselves.
Yeah, I was noticing that. Oh, ouch! Into the wall goes Cody Curran. Where do you think he's trying to go? Was he trying to pit?
I don't think.
Whoa!
So.
Something's happened there. Yeah, he's straight up lost control of that vehicle. I think it might be maybe hardware related, but he's back into the wall. Cody Curran just getting an absolute poltergeist ride.
It was going through turn 3. He kind of got to the left rear quarter panel of Sailors as he's giving him a shove down to the corner, gets Sailors loose, and the 24 goes up the racetrack to catch it as Sailors comes up, kind of hip checks him up. Big evasive action through the middle of the pack, and Curran, I think the first impact might have broke something in the steering.
Yeah, that's a good point there. That didn't seem like it was a huge impact, but then just watching the after effects of it and seeing Curran with no control of the vehicle, or at least what looked like no control of the vehicle, made me kind of wonder. But I got to give it to Sailors there. He handled a bad bump fairly well, and unfortunately that just reverberated back up into the person who gave it to him. I don't know if, I don't know what to say there if it was anybody's fault particularly.
It's just a product of the racing, honestly, and I hate to say that. Typically I like to place blame on somebody, right? Typically it's somebody's fault. Most things, at least, a little bit more fault to blame on somebody else. But there, it's 2 guys trying to push themselves up to the rest of the pack, right? So they're pushing as hard as they can, and they just got a little off-centered to the left. Curran to the left of Sailors. Sailors was trying to open up the entry of his corner to save tire a little bit, I presume, and Curran was doing a little bit more of a narrow entry. Unfortunately, just got offset to the left, and it's the most minor contact, right? I ran 1A open last night, and whenever I was getting shoved, it just felt like the back end was just twitchy, and I was just having to do these little minor course corrections with the wheel. And well, if you get just one of those little minor corrections wrong, all of a sudden the back end steps out, and that's what we saw from Sailors. And it's not any issue, on Sailors' part, right? I'm not trying to blame Sailors for it because it definitely wasn't. He got shoved going down into the corner, but the back end becomes crazy light going over that hump down into turn number 3, especially whenever you've got a car on your back bumper taking the air off of the rear spoiler. It just becomes, difficult to be able to hang on to the thing. It's just little twitches. I see Gambit in the chat saying, "Where's Austin?" I'm guessing he's thinking Austin Derbyshire, because Austin Edstrom's talking right now. If you're talking about Derbyshire, unfortunately, our normal producer for Tuesday night SSRL is stuck in the hospital. So if that's who you're talking about, unfortunately, he is currently undergoing tests. So we'll keep you updated over the coming weeks.
He's a hardy boy. We will see him back soon, I'm sure. Right now, we've got eyes on the second pack being led by Johan Seminario, Corey Adkins in the number 6 up there on the outside. He's just trying to get a little bit of speed to catch up to the group, but it looks like the NWO car has gotten ahead of him. Who's driving that? That's Good Paster. Good Pastor? I'm going to have to ask him how to say that.
I'm just going to keep saying Good Pastor. I just feel like that's the go-to, right? But nonetheless.
That's fair.
Van Schack, Mitchell, Zosiak, they were all trying to make moves on the outside, trying to get runs to kind of challenge the main pack a couple laps ago, but it's kind of gone wrong for him, right? I don't know if it's Mitchell being the second car in line. He's on the back bumper of Van Schack, giving him good shoves, but every now and again he gets kind of offset from the back bumper of Van Schack, and I think it ends up slowing them down more than pushing them forward. Watching him through the middle of 3 and 4, he just really goes high on the 0-0. We're watching Mark Sanchez here, but the second pack just not quite getting the pushes they need to stay with the top 4. It's weird how much separation we've seen in this run. I'm kind of confused. We have the stage break at lap number 65, so we're 6.5 laps away from it, but we've only got 4 cars in the main pack. It's a little weird.
Yeah, right. Oh, almost some contact there between the 98 and the 6. Corey Adkins able to slide in just below Christoph Hall. Hall with the speed, though, on the outside. Now they're just side by side. That was very close. And, yeah, there's been it's like the strategy changed. That was not good contact right now there between the 6 and the 9. But they're able to hold on to it. And it causes even more separation to occur there. The 98 of Christoph Hall falling back a little bit. Corey Atkins moving up, getting into the bubble of the 29 and Mark Sanchez. Sanchez down on the inside. He's got some speed there. It's going to try to catch up. The outside line looking pretty good. Seminario.
Oh, man, you don't want to get to the right rear like that. Mark Sanchez just about getting turned down the front straightaway. Good job by Goodpasture to get out of that, because it could have been huge. McRae in the fence through turns 1 and 2. It's getting dicey back here for about the 10th place position. All these guys right behind PB Henry and Johan Seminario. David Salter leading the group in 8th. These guys getting feisty from about 10th on back, as Westwood and Sanchez now side by side. Coming to 4 laps to go in stage number 1.
4 laps to go. You know what that means. It's a little bit, it's time for stage points. The top 10 guys are looking for it, and it's Seminario is at the bottom of that bubble right now. So he's in a pretty good spot leading this pack, but he's looking at the tail of PB Henry and thinking, how do I get around this car here? Maybe down to the inside? Nope, he's going to give him a good push instead.
And I believe we had Cody Kieran in chat mention the toe link broke, couldn't steer at all. I believe that was Cody. Mentioned that in the chat. So Cody, heartbreaker, tough break. Honestly, just like I said in the moment, kind of just super speedway racing where you're just trying to shove the guys up to the main group, and one push, all it takes is one push being half a foot off, and that's all it takes. Whenever the margins are that thin, it's tough to place any heavy blame. But here we go, side by side, just inside the top 10. Johan Seminario, PB Henry going at it. We saw Johan go to the outside earlier, kind of break up the field into 2 separate packs from some aggressive side drafting without any help on the outside, and well, it's turned into a 4-car breakaway for the race lead that's kind of boring, and then a crazy battle for 9th on back as we come to 2 laps to go in stage number 1.
Yeah, that crazy battle has formed 2 solid lines who are eagerly racing against each other. One led by PB Henry, the other one led by David Salter. David Salter down the inside, getting help from Johan Seminario, who kind of brought that pack up with him. And PB Henry low, losing a little bit into the wall. Now goes Henry. He forms a 3rd line by himself. He's going to get shunted back. The inside line takes that momentum and drives away with it. PB Henry falls all the way back.
Yeah, Henry likely to go all the way to the back of the pack, still door to door, a little bit further back. Johan looking to the bottom side, but we're going to cycle back up towards the race lead. Joseph Kazi leading, coming down to the turn number 3. Can Reese Schaefer get one more run coming off of turn 4, trying to get this stage point? Can he get it on Joseph Kazi? Doesn't look like he's got the run to make a move. It's going to be the number 88 of Joseph Kazi, uncontested, coming down to the end of stage number 1.
Yeah, you know what?
You got
to know a good thing.
Let's see, David Salter actually was able to get, Johan Seminario was able to get the 8th place spot, David Salter 9th, and Kyle Westwood is going to get the last stage point. I just got to point out, Kieran, it wasn't a bad push either. It was very, very minor, so I don't want to pick on you or anything. It wasn't bad, but nonetheless, coming to the end of stage number 1, we're going to go ahead and take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we're going to do a full field rundown to start stage number 2.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Welcome back to the Spartans Master Series. We're coming down the back straightaway, getting ready to start the second and final stage from the Atlanta Motor Speedway. Joseph Kazi still up in the race lead after winning stage number 1. Reese Schaefer in second, Scott Healy third, Chad Gunningsman in fourth, Charles Van Schack fifth, Kevin Zosiak in sixth, Johan Seminario seventh, Kalen Mitchell in eighth, David Salter in ninth, and Kyle Westwood rounds out the top 10.
Moving on, Christoph Hall is in 11th, Mark Sanchez is in 12th, Jared Feltman's in 13th, Nick Ray, James McRae in 14th, Adam Pettit's in 15th, Jordan Saylor 16th, PB Henry 17th, Chris Hudson 18th, Kyle Gerlach 19th, and Luke Christian 20th.
iRacing pace car taking the hard left off the banking. Surprised that thing doesn't break whenever it comes off the banking like that. That was a pretty pretty rough hit for the pace car. Kind of looked like Ryan Priest coming up off the apron this weekend. But nonetheless, we're coming up to the green flag. Joseph Kazi. How many times am I going to just about say Johan whenever it's Kazi? But either way, he's going to cover off his teammate down on the bottom. Scott Healy able to hang on to third. Gunning's been down into fourth already. You can tell these guys just content with falling in line immediately up at the front of the field. Really just wanting to hang on to the track position and not push their stuff too hard too early, right? You got the track position, why burn off the right front tire in the early going?
Yeah, absolutely. Now there's a little bit of a stack up going on, but I think they're just trying to get up to speed here. Lap 69 of 156, so there's still a lot of racing left to do, about 90 laps to go. So these guys have, with that much race left, there's going to be more pitting, there's going to be a lot of driving. You don't want to burn it up, like you said. And yeah, I'm going to take that bet. I'm going to say that that's where they want to be.
Wanting to say we still have 2 green flag pit stops if we run green the whole way. I can't say that with absolute certainty, but I'm relatively confident we would have 2 green flag pit stops from here with the limited fuel that we have in the Spartans Master Series. I gotta think that we're at the two green flag stop point at this point of the race, starting stage number 2. Again, if we stay green, if we go to caution, obviously it'll break it up a bit to where we obviously we won't have the green flag pit stops, but nonetheless,
yeah,
as of now, it's looking like 2.
I think you're right. It's something around 45 laps, 40 laps per stint, and especially if you're driving hard, though. Some of these guys up at the front who are burning more fuel. If we see any more separation, there's going to be some guys who are burning fuel a little more than everybody else. They're going to have to go a little earlier probably, but maybe not too much. We'll have to find out. We'll see. Just about everybody pitted on 66. We had Seminario pit on 67. So I think everybody is geared up for a 2-stopper. That would be my guess. As speaking of 2, we have 2 packs now. The snake at the front and the double pack at the back here.
Yeah, it just seems like on these last couple restarts, we've really gotten into the habit of separating the packs out, right? This main pack, single file. We had a side-by-side battle with Chris Hudson and another just a moment ago, but Hudson and Christian in that second pack actually going to find the fence coming down into turn number 1 for whatever reason. Both of them flying up to the top side of the racetrack. Justin Levine now on the bottom, leading the bottom. But they're still losing ground ever so slightly to the cars in front. I gotta say these guys got to get single filed out as soon as possible, or they're gonna lose touch again.
I think you're right. Adam Pettit just gave a hell of a shove to Justin Levine. Levine used every ounce of that, but he still couldn't quite get further than getting just about to the quarter panel of the 21 of Luke Christian. Levine down the inside, he's got a steady line. He's keeping the car very low. I don't think he wants to get any side draft action from the guys above him, but the guys above him just have the speed, and they've got the draft. It's going very, very well for the outside line. Chad Kibbe right now is side by side with Justin Levine.
Yeah, the top side clearly a little bit faster through the majority of the racetrack for the second pack coming down the front straightaway. They're just able to carry so much more momentum coming off of turn number 4. Chad Kibbe, now the 4th car in line on the outside, just trying to keep the momentum up, trying not to lose touch of that main pack. Jordan Saylor's a driver that has lost touch with the main pack. Now a single car by himself, about to get sucked up by the second pack. He's down on the bottom of turns 3 and 4. Does Hudson shove him, or does he go around his outside whenever he gets to him? Hudson gonna go high past Jordan Saylor's, try to keep the momentum up that they just got from drafting off of him. Now, can they run down the main pack that they've kind of gotten the front 5 or 6 sorted out?
Oh, Kibbe there, very, very loose, just about into the nose of Saylor. Saylor's unable to keep it straight, able to hold on to it. Here comes the 9 now. Heavy side drafting there from Jeffrey Goodpaster. Some bumping, a little bit of momentum passing from the inside line. Sailors is kind of ahead a little bit now. It looks like Goodpaster's falling back a little bit. Unfortunately, he's got Ethel with him, I think, up there on the outside. So the two of them together. Oh, and now a second line is formed with Kibbe going up to the outside, getting a bit of a push from Levine. Oh no, too good of a push. It's Kibbe sideways. Sailors. And they are fully around. We have a yellow now on the field.
Yeah, Levine got to the back bumper of Chad Kibbe coming off of turn number 2. And look, the race cars get loose coming out of these corners, man. They get light. They get loose. They come out of the banking where they're planted. They're set in the corner. The weight is pushing the car down into the banking. As soon as that banking falls away, the back end becomes light. And if you've got a car on your back bumper, it becomes even lighter. And then the slightest of touches can just send you around. And we're going to see right here the 33 getting offset to the right with Kibbe of the 23, sliding down to the left side of his bumper. And I never see him come right on his bumper. I still don't see him coming right. But the problem is it's right as the banking's going away on the exit of turn number 2. Kibbe just getting turned off of the nose of Levine, coming down into Sailors. Both those guys hard into the outside wall. Levine ends up checking up, not getting any contact. And how about the rest of the field, man? That is a tough, tough accident to be able to get through. This is not Daytona where you've got a ridiculous amount of runoff, or Talladega where you've got way more runoff. This is freaking Atlanta. It's still a narrow back straightaway. Everybody got through there without any contact with Sailors or Kibbe.
Yeah, they didn't have any contact. We had a few cars that ended up sideways, but it looks like the overall majority of them got past that initial wreck, thank goodness. So most of them are going to be back out to race pretty quickly here. Hopefully not too much damage from too many other vehicles that are on the road. Kyle Westwood right now is technically leading the race. Everybody else, some of the folks involved are in the pits coming out now. The race will be resuming here in a couple of laps, but Westwood is going to be out in front.
And I was talking earlier about Cody Curran, right? He gave a bump down into turn number 3. They were just offset to the left, but ultimately I didn't feel like it was like that bad of a push. It was kind of more unfortunate, and he definitely got the short end of the stick. Just as like I said, I believe it was Sailors again that was drifting up to the outside while Curran was trying to run a little bit lower entering the corner, and it was just kind of an unfortunate coming together. Here off of 2, I actually have to put a little bit more blame on Levine, right? Watching from his far chase, it's obviously not malicious. He's trying to give a good shove to Cody, or to the 23 of Kibbe, but nonetheless, he got offset to the left ever so slightly coming out of the corner, and did just slightly come across the back bumper. I mean, it's a slight move to the right, but it's enough of a move, as like I said, the banking's going away, that, this is one of the rare ones at a super speedway where I've actually kind of got to put the blame 100% on one guy. I feel like definitely, like I said, he wasn't trying to do it, but it was just a bad push coming out of a bad spot of a corner.
Yeah, yeah. And so what is the solution there? Is it just to kind of lift a little bit when you see that the end of the corner is coming and you realize that the track is flattening out a little bit?
Well, you want to be offset to the right if you're going to be offset. You don't want to be offset much in these cars, period. These cars like to be lined up better than, the Gen 6 cars. You would want to be offset to the right. These things, they're symmetrical. The Gen 6s were not. You want to be lined up nose to tail perfectly. But if you have to be offset, you would still rather be offset slightly right. There, he was slightly left, and unfortunately, slightly left is all it takes whenever the banking's going away. He got into the left for a quarter panel, not quarter panel. It was definitely still the left bumper, but nonetheless, he got into the left side of the bumper. And at that point, when the car's getting light, it can't take that hit. It's a weird one. It's more Atlanta specific. It's definitely something that can happen at Daytona, but it's more unforgiving at Atlanta, I would say. And unfortunately, that one bit a couple of guys, and they losing probably at fault for that one.
Chalk one up for Justin Levine, unfortunately there, but the race is going to be restarting soon here.
Yep, the pace car pulling off of turn number 4 once again, working lap number 80, so a little over half the race completed. Kyle Westwood up in the race lead now. He stayed out under that last caution. Causey and Schaefer in second and third, but Healy all over the back bumper of Joseph Causey on the outside. Finally, the front four not just falling into line, 2 by 2 here for second.
Well, it's a bit of a different situation on this restart for sure. That second line is much stronger than we've seen on any of the 2 restarts we've had, or 2 or 3 restarts that we've had so far.
Westwood didn't have any help down the back straightaway for a hot minute. Finally, Chad Gunningsman gets down to his back bumper, but here comes Scott Healy looking to the inside, coming off of turn number 4. The help doesn't go with him, though. Reese Schaefer going to stay with Joseph Causey as they come down to turn 1. And Reese Schaefer and Joseph Causey going to assume first and second once again. Scott Healy in third place, side by side now for the 4th place position. That's Van Schack on the outside trying to take it from Johan.
3 teammates up in front. I like to think that that maybe it was just his goal, Scott Healy, to secure that bottom line for the 2 teammates to come on down, and the 3 of them to maybe try to break away again if possible.
You're talking about the 2 teammates down there on the bottom. There's also 2 teammates on the top. Charles Van Schack and Kevin Zosiak working together really nicely here on the outside groove with some help from Caleb Mitchell and David Salter as well. Can they get the outside groove moving a little bit better than they did the last time?
We're going to have to find out here. It looks like it's got a better odds than we've seen in a while. I'll give it that. Although, it looks like there might be a moment now where Van Schack, nope, Van Schack cannot make the move down to the inside now. He's going to try, though. I knew that was coming. Van Schack down to the inside. He's going to leave the top line. Zosiak is there by himself. Now we got some wrecking in the back.
Couple cars going spinning off towards the back of the pack. The caution flag's going to fly eventually. Looks like the number 6 of Corey Adkins going to be stuck sideways down the back straightaway. Jordan Sailors might have been involved. That car looks relatively clean, but it looks like Evan Ethel might have some damage to that nice white and blue machine. So a couple cars towards the back of the pack getting caught up in an incident through turns 1 and 2. And I got to point out to our producer, we're getting a mention of choppy audio in the chat. So maybe take a look at that whenever we get an opportunity under this caution. But watching them come around too, man, it looked like it started in front of Sammy Harrell. Robert Besaw getting sideways, sliding. Don't know if there was a whole heck of a lot of contact for a lot of guys through this one. This is a track that I would expect whenever there's a wreck, there would be a whole lot more contact, right? Nowhere to escape compared to a place like Daytona and Talladega, but they've had it sorted out pretty decent. Yeah, just to check up on the outside line, Besaw got to the side of, or the back of the 2, who got in the back of the 12, who looked like he came down the racetrack and got the right rear of somebody else. I don't know. There was a lot going on in that one.
That was just pinball wizardry right there, if anything. A lot of compounding errors that happened very quickly across a lot of cars, and it made the whole field a minefield. And unfortunately, a few of those cars drove over the mines.
And it looks like everybody's coming down pit road here once again. Not really too big of a surprise. You know, if you don't have enough gas to get to the end of the super speedway, it's kind of become the norm to come down and take gas. Now, a couple of people up at the front of the field decided not to do that. It looks like our top 8 stayed out on the racetrack.
Interesting. What sort of fuel strategy are these big brain guys doing?
Or are they little brain?
They're gonna.
I
they're
like
gonna say they're gonna have to pit.
Gas, to be honest.
Yeah, same. You're gonna have to do it later, and it says it feels like I guess you're just doing what everybody else is doing. Maybe it's just the what the cool kids are doing, and you don't want to do that because you don't want to look too cool. But it seems pretty smart too.
We have to wait and see. Kazi up in the race lead now after the pit stops. It's kind of shuffled the running order ever so slightly. Some of the guys that were up front were some of the guys that ended up staying out. A couple guys further back decided to stay out as well, though. Mark Sanchez getting some track position now. Zodiac was up there already, riding in 7th. Now he was up in the top 10. Levine was further back, though. Ever since that speeding penalty, he's been stuck in the back. So Levine not showing the same speed that he had last week. He's been stuck back there. He's caused an incident. Now after this caution flag, he's been able to get himself some track position. So now that he's towards the front, we'll have to see if he can right the ship. But nonetheless, all the guys behind the top 8 staying out. No, I mean, we only ran what 2-3 laps there before the caution ran out. So I understand to an extent not going down pit road. But man, we've learned from real life racing, real life super speedway racing the last couple of years, and honestly on iRacing, if you race it enough, you want to come down and get some fuel, man. If you don't have enough gas to make it to the end, might as well make your pit stop as short as possible. But for somebody like Levine, or even up at the front, if you don't know if everybody's going to come down pit road, you don't want to put yourself in the middle of the hornet's nest. You've seen it break off into 2 or 3 different packs time and time again tonight so far. So maybe you just don't want to risk that.
No, the hornet's nest will chew you up, and there still is enough race left for that to happen, for us to have another couple of yellows potentially. Let's hope we don't. But if we can get some nice racing, the separation wasn't great, but if we can get some of that nice single file racing for a little while, then I think you're going to start to see the tension really ramp to the end of the race. But if not, I got a feeling that there's going to be that if we get a good launch from the outside line here, we're going to have a hornet's nest right up front.
Yeah, I think I'd have to agree with you on that one, and we're getting ready to figure out how much of a hornet's nest we're going to have as we come up to take lap number 87. So a little bit less than 70 laps to go at this point. Joseph Kazi is still your race leader. On the top side of the racetrack, that DeWalt number 88 gonna get going, and Johan blinked out from the second place of the outside groove, and it's really stacked up the outside groove. Sanchez didn't know where to go, and now he's just plummeting back, finally finding a hole down on the bottom. But him and Levine went from, what, 4th and 6th to, well, I guess it ended up not being too bad. They're still 6th and 7th, but nonetheless, it looked like they were going to go a whole lot further back with how much of a gap they had between them and Johan on that restart.
It did. As soon as I saw the second line spread out like that at the front, I thought, well, there's the theory about a good start for the top line gone out the window. And as we see here now, side by side, there is a little bit of movement coming up here. Justin Levine is trying to make a pass. I think he's almost got it. There's a little bit behind him. Out on the outside goes Mark Sanchez ahead of him. He wants a little bit of that as well.
Sanchez to the outside. Can he get the run down the back straightaway with a push from Levine? No, they're both going to cycle back down to the bottom side of the racetrack as we head down into turn number 3. Kevin Zosiak right behind them. Sanchez making another run to the top side of Chad Gunningsman, but this time his help does not go with him. Justin Levine staying on the bottom, and now cutting to the top, trying to take the spot on Chad as well. Can he get any help? It looks like Zosiak's not content with riding on the bottom side of the racetrack either. He's going to go up top with the 33.
If someone goes up top, Levine's going to go and stay there. Let's see what happens, though. Can he get a push from Zosiak, or is he going to find a way to filter his way back down to the inside? He's got the room for it. Nope, not anymore. The 79 comes in. Genningsman blocks him just enough. Nope, lifts just enough to let him back in. Levine takes a spot on the inside, and then on the outside, it's going to be Mark Sanchez leading the newly formed outside line.
And Mark Sanchez trying to pull Kevin Zosiak up with him. One of their helpers ducking down to the bottom side of the racetrack. That's Charles Van Schack. He's been solidly in the top 10 all night long. Van Schack been up towards the top of the point standings all season long as well. He's been hovering in the top 5, top 10 area. Great, consistent season from the 00 so far. He gets a little stacked up on the bottom entering turn 3, and that's going to let Sanchez get back to the outside. But again, Sanchez with no help down the front straightaway.
No help. Yeah, he's still out there alone, unfortunately. Whoa. Just not enough.
Spinning. There's somebody wrecking further back. Almost came across and, he's killed a couple cars. Yeah, there's a couple cars wrecking down into turn number 1. Still can't quite tell who that was that stuck down there. The yellow car was the one that really kicked it off. Coming down the front straightaway. I think he got turned sideways down onto the apron and cut it back across the racetrack. Gonna have to get another look back to see exactly what happened coming down the front straightaway.
Yikes. Well, let's see here. We got some side-by-side racing down across the tri-oval. There's the start-finish line. Ooh. BSAW came down just to avoid all that business.
Oh,
Oh,
man.
wow.
Huge car. I still can't tell who the heck that is. I don't know that paint scheme off the top of my head. It's not the 88.
Yes, I don't know what his number is on our timing sheet, unfortunately.
Yeah, I know he's not 88 in the sim, even if he's running an 88 paint scheme. 98, excuse us.
Christoph
98 gets
Hall.
turned- yeah, the 98 Christoph Hall gets turned down the front straightaway. Excuse us on that. And then, I honestly, I hate to say it, but Corey Adkins belongs in the ARCA race at Daytona from last week. That was some ARCA breaking big time from the 6. He plowed through Riggs whenever Riggs was checking up for it, and that one I can give him some reprieve on because well, you can't really see through the back bumper of the car in front, right? So coming down to 1, you can see him getting to the back bumper there, but that one is a little bit less excusable. I don't know about the second one from Corey. The first one I understand because you can't see the through the back bumper of the car in front. But man, the second one I feel like he had a little bit of time to figure out before he got there.
Yeah, it's hard to say what's going through the mind of some of these guys when they're just in the zone, but you got to watch out for cars that are sideways or maybe coming back up on the track, and you can see the number written on the side of the car. Typically, you're not going to see that as a driver.
Getting on board with Corey, see if maybe he got smoke screened or anything. Give him some type of reason why he would have done that, other than belonging in the ARCA race. If we can maybe get an on board of Corey Adkins, just kind of see what happened to him coming down to 1. Again, the first one I kind of give him a reprieve. I think the car in front just kind of checked up because he's obviously saw a car sideways wrecking in front of him, and unfortunately, if you're Corey Adkins, you just can't see through his back bumper. Corey Adkins of the 6. If we can get that replay, it looks like we're getting it pulled up here. Down the front straightaway, or coming out of turn 4 here for Corey, all over the back bumper. See, coming down the front. They end up wrecking up here. He's not seeing anything. Can't see anything. Offset right. Finally sees smoke. Not enough time really to check up. I'm not going to be too hard on that one. But then, there is a smoke screen. But, if there's a smoke screen and you don't see a car to the left or the right of the smoke screen, he's probably in the smoke.
Yeah, hit those brakes.
Well, either hit the brakes or go as far left as you can or go as far right as you can to try to avoid it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be too hard on it.
Yeah, he tried to keep it on the track. He didn't know what was going on, but it would have been better to go a little wide.
Yeah, there was a smoke screen. It's just it doesn't look good from the third-person camera. From the cockpit, you can understand it a little bit more.
Well, it's 1 to green now. Was a smoke screen, and now it's 1 to green with 95 laps under our belts. This Atlanta track has been chewing up our drivers left and right, and our drivers have been chewing up each other left and right with some really, really good blocking, some really, really good runs, especially on the outside line tonight so far. I'm looking forward to the rest of tonight's race.
Levine bitching in the chat about Kalen Mitchell giving him a 4X now has given Levine a pass-through, so Levine going to have to do a pass-through as soon as we go to the green flag. So we're going to have to wait for that third car on the inside to come down pit road after the green flag flies. Unfortunately for him, he ends up getting a 4X, but hey, he did wreck somebody earlier, so it makes sense.
It balances itself out a little bit. There goes the launch from Joseph Causey. Out in front, Reese Schaefer behind, Scott Healy. That's a group we've seen before leading the race. This time, Johan Seminario is in 4th.
Causey, Schaefer, Healy, Johan continuing their domination of the race. Honestly, they've been sitting up in the top 5 the entire night, it feels like. Johan went back once as he got spun, but other than that, he's been up there, and now we see Levine coming down to serve that pass-through penalty we were talking about. And here's that pit road in action. I thought we were going to see it under the green flag. We haven't yet tonight, besides Levine having to come down to serve a penalty for an accumulation of X's.
Yeah, unfortunately, when that happens, you're gonna lose some places, and that's gonna be something that's gonna be way harder for him to make up at this point without a flag for him to take advantage of. So we'll see what happens.
With the way we've been racing over the course of the last few laps, I wouldn't be surprised if we do get the yellow. The problem for him is he's about to go a lap down. He's down on the apron at turns 1 and 2. The leaders are coming through now.
Yeah.
So he's going to have to hang on to the lucky dog spot. Now, luckily for him, the only car that's a lap down, or the first car that's a lap down, is currently 4 laps down. So Levine easily in the lucky dog spot, but he's got to hope for a yellow before the next car goes a lap down. And with the way that we've been seeing the packs split apart time and time again so far tonight, I wouldn't be surprised if one car gets shucked off the back of the pack and ends up getting lapped within 30, 40 laps.
Yeah, that's a good point. It might end up being Justin Levine, and at this point, he is the lucky dog currently. The last man in the line. So if we do end up having another yellow situation, it'll be him getting back his position with the lead lap, but that's the only advantage that he'll have after that. Still a Herculean effort to get anywhere with only, I know I say only, but with only about 57 laps to go.
Looking at Johan Seminario in that number 56, he got sent spinning a little bit earlier after he had a blinking session. Speaking of the devil, there's another one coming through 1 and 2. But it was down the back straightaway. He was in front of the 97 of Reese Schaefer, who's running second. He blinked out. And then Reese just didn't know where the 56 was, so whenever he blinked back in, they were offset really poorly coming down into the corner, and Johan got sent sideways, didn't get any contact, didn't get any damage off of that, but you can see that he's still having those internet issues. The 56, if you're somebody else in the pack, if you're Charles Van Schack, if you're Kalen Mitchell, Mark Sanchez, one of these guys right behind him, I wouldn't want to go with Johan if Johan goes to the outside to make a move. I wouldn't find that trustworthy. I would be really, really worried about getting caught up in an incident with him.
You're right, and it's nothing that really Johan has any control over, but it's not a risk you can take at this stage in the race when you're running this far ahead either. You just got to give him some space. So you can see Van Schack right now is giving him that space. He doesn't want to put his nose into the bumper of Seminario because maybe he remembers exactly what happened earlier, and either way, he knows that if this guy comes back into reality, into the bumper, it's going to be a bad day for potentially both of us.
And we have gotten the pack split up now. We've seen it time and time again. The front 14 have their own breakaway. The last car in the pack, last 2 cars, going to be Kyle Westwood and Chad Gunningsman at the very back of that 13-14 car pack. And then from 15th on back, we got Jordan Sailors with the lap car Justin Levine trying to shove him up to the rest of the field. But ultimately, just a little 4-car pack here, 3 of them being on the lead lap. And that's just not going to be enough, right? Sailors, Patet, and James McRae, they're just not going to be enough with those 3 and Justin Levine to push up to the rest of these guys. I don't think, anyway. They're 2 seconds off the back of that pack right now, so we'll wait and see if they make any headway.
Well, Ethel and Schroeder are trying their best to catch up. There's Art Nicotera also doing his best to catch up. And the pack behind them, led by Sammy Harrell. These splits have definitely added a little bit to the overall texture of the field, though. And as they grow, as they shrink, there going to be considerations. Especially if we have a lot of green flag racing for the next this 2 dozen laps or so here, dozen or so laps. We'll see if these guys catch up to some of these guys.
I'm surprised how quickly and defined the pack splits have been, right? At Daytona,
yeah,
with the new draft package, it was very obvious whenever it happened, 2 cars just being stuck side by side for lap after lap, with them side drafting the heck out of each other, and they would just slowly pull each other off of the main pack. And I say slowly, it would still happen pretty quick. But here at Atlanta, it just seems like it happens without us even noticing sometimes. It's just one little wiggle, one little side draft seems to have the same effect, and honestly pull these guys apart quicker than what I remember seeing last week.
Yeah, it's been every little move has defined a big result, and those big results have gotten us now a field that is stretched across half the track. So coming together and working together has paid off for the cars who have figured out how to do it. Unfortunately, they've done it in groups that are so small after the first 12 cars, or in this case, first 14 cars, that it's not enough. It's just not enough. They need to really lay down some speed and coordination to try to catch up, not just catch up, but make their way up to this pack. But if this pack is really going at top speed, any pack of 4 going at top speed is going to have a hard time catching them still.
Well, I got to point out now too, you know, as we've gotten this main pack kind of sorted out, kind of know who our contenders are now if this thing runs to the green. We've seen Kazi, Schaefer, Healy, and Seminario work together and stay up in the top 4 to top 5 for the majority of this race, other than when Johan got sent spinning. So if you're somebody else, if you're a guy like Charles Van Schack, a guy like Kalen Mitchell, a guy like Mark Sanchez, or Jeffrey Goodpaster, Kevin Zosiak, Luke Christian in the top 10, like, what can you do to actually work your way around these guys? Because, you know, I got to point out, Kazi, Schaefer, and Johan are all one sim teammates. Johan is also Conti teammates here with Scott Healy right in front of them. So you got to think that, you know, just being a drafting track, they're working together. So if you're any of these other guys, how in the world can you get by? Because if you're a guy like Charles Van Schack right there in 5th, you know, he hasn't had a ridiculous amount of help tonight. He's had Zosiak a couple times on his back bumper trying to give him a shove, but ultimately 2 versus 4 is just typically not going to be enough. And right now it's just Van Schack up there by himself. So if you're somebody like Van Schack, who's been doing great, by the way, I mean, he's the best of the rest, as it seems, and I hate to say it like that, but whenever it's 1v4, there's just almost nothing you can do. So Joe, what can the 00 do to break up these 4 cars in front of him?
Oh man, I would never advocate this. Play dirty. Put a cow catcher on the front of your car and just get the nose of the car into the bumper of the car in front of you. Push into the turns. See a little bit if you can challenge their race. You know, challenge their line. Because if you get out of the bubble, you're gonna fall back. So you got to stay close, and I think if you can push these guys a little bit, you're in good shape. But Van Schack knows he cannot push Seminario right now because of his internet issues. And that is the unique firewall, basically, that's built between Seminario and Van Schack.
Now, you say it's kind of a unique firewall. If I was in Van Schack's driver's seat, I would be thinking, you know what, if Johan goes spinning, I've got an excuse. If I'm going to bump him down into turn number 3 and he blinks out and he goes spinning, well, I can just queue up and be like, hey, man, you blinked out. It was the same thing that happened beforehand. You know, so
there you go.
He's kind of got an excuse. I would almost say the same as you in the terms of get on the back bumper, shove him deeper into the corner than he wants to go, and hope he washes up the racetrack and get your nose up under him.
Yeah, and it doesn't seem like a nice move. It's not a nice move. But it's the only way that you're going to get past somebody. And you're in a situation like this, and you're done saving gas, and you're ready to drive the car a little bit, and you've got a dwindling number of laps to get past a team of 4. You got to start picking them off one by one.
Not only that, but you got to do enough to get them to be separated more than just a couple cars. Like, I feel like if he gets under Johan, he's got to make the move in such a way that Johan's going to go back 3 or 4 cars, and he's going to have to do a lot of work to get back up to his teammates, right? You can't just ship him out there and him just lose one spot and get right back in behind you, because if he does that, well, he's just going to give you the bumper back down into the next corner and put you in an uncomfortable situation. So if you're Van Schack, you almost have to do a little bit more than you want to, and I think Charles has been a very clean racer this season, right? He's been Mr. Consistent, I got to say. He's been consistently quick, not race winning quick, but he has been top 5, top 7, I feel like, just about all season long, which is no slouch. I think he's sitting 5th or 6th in the points. So Van Schack has had a heck of a season, but I would view it as kind of uncharacteristic if he gave the bumper to Johan and really tried to shove him down into the corner. But to our point that we've been saying, I feel like that's about his only option.
Yeah, I would be very uncharacteristic. He is a consistent racer, and part of that is because he's a clean racer. And now is not the time to change that behavior, as much as it feels like it's time to mix up the strategies a little bit as things are leaning towards the last 40 laps, to go. It's just not going to be in the nature. He's going to look for the outside, and it's going to be a situation where he needs Kalen Mitchell behind him to come with him when he goes to the outside, because he's going to need a big push out of Mitchell to make that work in any way. But the two of them have to go together. If not, it's going to be a big wasted effort.
Mark Sanchez fading high ever so slightly in the 7th place position behind Kalen Mitchell. Jeffrey Goodpaster right behind him. All these guys still lined up going down the back straightaway. honestly, probably more content than anything just to ride until the pit stop, because we know we got one more pit stop left.
All right.
I gotta think these guys just saving a little bit of gas too, just kind of waiting for their moment, hoping that they have to take a little bit less gas under that pit stop sequence, just a little bit less fuel into the tank, so that maybe they can jump some of these guys up at the front of the field that have been kind of controlling the race.
That's a good point. My super evil crystal ball tells me that these guys, most of them pit around either the top 4 guys pit on 78. So if we're sitting on 118 right now, they've been racing for what? For about 40 laps, 50 laps.
78? Are you sure 78?
That's what it says here. Pit lap 78 for Joseph Causey, Reese Schaefer, Scott Healy, and Johan Seminario. 85 for Charles Van Scheck.
I feel like they came down a little bit before, or a little bit after that, right? Man, you might be right.
I don't know.
I mean, if that's the case,
I just tell you what the machine tells me.
Laps.
Exactly. That's why I'm so excited. I was going to say my evil crystal ball tells me that we might see some action when these leaders have to come down pit road. They're going to have to hit the brakes nearly simultaneously. And have you ever seen a team of 4 hit the brakes simultaneously and all leave the group behind them just all at the same time? That's what's going to happen.
It's easier at Daytona or Talladega, where you've got so much width to use on pit entry. Here at Atlanta, they've made it easier, right? It's not like they're slamming on the brakes coming out of turn 4 like we used to, because that was unbelievably dangerous. But down into the entry at turn 3, down the back straightaway, you still got to get off the apron or down to the apron. It looks like here they come. We're watching it right now. Causey, your race leader, coming down pit road. Van Scheck in 5th, also coming down, and they can hustle it through this corner, right? You just cannot slide above that white line. Reese Schaefer sliding up ever so slightly through the middle of the corner. All these guys hustling their way down to that pit line, and then you got to slam on the brakes while you're still turning. Try not to speed. Causey getting it woe down. Schaefer a little bit scarier on the brakes, hoping he didn't speed. But ultimately, doesn't look like the guys behind made any ground on them that came down. It looked like Causey and Schaefer did the best jobs getting to pit road.
Yeah, that was a little bit of smoke out of Reese Schaefer. We saw it, but now we've got new race leaders in the form of Kalen Mitchell, Luke Christian, and Rob Besaw. Also tucked in there, that's Chris Hudson in the 43.
Interesting to see some of these guys not come down pit road. Sanchez, Goodpaster, Gunningsman, Westwood, all deciding to come down pit road that time. So they're currently entering the normal pit road entrance. Looking at Sanchez here now as Causey, Schaefer, and Johan, Scott Healy, all these guys coming out of pit road. And I got to think that these are the ones that came down that caution that I was like, I'm surprised that the top 8 didn't come down. I think the guys that are still on the racetrack are the ones that stayed out a little bit longer. Now looking at Levine, looking a little bit further back at the 2 of James McRae, all these guys coming down pit road. McRae getting really flirty with that white line. That's the black flag line. So you got to be a little afraid of that. Don't get too close to it, but a few more cars deciding to come down pit road. But Kalen Mitchell, Luke Christian, Robert Besaw Jr., and Chris Hudson still out on the racetrack. And something has just happened to Justin Levine. He's had an issue getting into pit road to where he's been disqualified.
Oh no, he got the big DQ.
Oh, yeah, James McRae missed his braking point coming down into pit road and gave Levine another 4X. So Justin just got disqualified.
That's going to be it for Justin Levine. He's back in the truck. He's done for the night. Wow. Unfortunate.
I'm sorry, but that's funny. That's pretty funny. I mean, he got caught up in a couple incidents. He got pushed over the initial limit by Caleb Mitchell, giving him a 4X. We haven't seen exactly what that was. And then, well, the caution flag. The caution flag's out. That shakes up everything. So many cars are stuck a lap down. They're all going to have to take the wave around and lose all the track position. But guys like Mitchell, Christian, Besaw Jr., Chris Hudson, Sammy Harrell, David Mayberry, all looking out.
Absolutely, and when the flag came out, it was Joseph Causey, the lucky dog, too, so he'll get his lap back, I'm pretty sure.
Where was the yellow? Who did it?
Oh, it might be a mystery. Let's see here. Let's see if the machine will point us in the direction of what happened here.
Who did the dumb?
All I see is yellow flag on my feed here. I don't see anybody going off. I see some passes.
I'm going.
Was it
through.
Kyle Westwood?
I'm not seeing. What in the world was the caution flag thrown for? Look, I'm skating through all the drivers. I haven't seen anything. It wasn't an admin thrown caution. I don't see anybody sideways on the racetrack anywhere. I don't know. Oh, maybe. Westwood coming out of turn 2. Oh, it was Westwood coming out of turn 2.
I think it was Westwood based on how many people were passing him on my feed here.
Yeah. Finally, I found it. Kyle Westwood got turned. Coming out of turn number 2, it looks like.
Oh, no.
Oh, Gunning's been over the back bumper just trying to play catch up on the lead pack and sends Westwood sideways into the outside wall, and that's the yellow. Kind of the same thing we saw with Levine earlier whenever he turned, who was it that he turned? He turned somebody into Jordan Sailors on the bottom side, Chad Kibbe. He turned Chad Kibbe on the outside of turn 2. This time, Gunning's been trying to just push Westwood up to the rest of the pack that had pit. He tagged Westwood in the right rear, which was clean. But then, as the banking fell away, that tag from the right rear pushed Westwood up the racetrack ever so slightly, and then Gunningsman got him again in the left rear. And that's ultimately what sent the 92 around and put us under this caution flag, and has completely shaken up the running order.
Oof.
Here's the Levine disqualification. Coming down pit road, having a decent entrance. He's already a lap down. He's just waiting for the caution, hoping for the caution, so he gets his lap back at some point, but he ends up having to come down pit road. Gets it low down for the pit road entrance. James McRae, though, right behind him, locks him up and gets into the back bumper. And that's all it took. And the 33 disappears.
Poof. Unfortunate. Really unfortunate.
Allen issue.
A good race up to that point, too, with just holding on like a survivor. But unfortunately, the points don't lie. The numbers don't lie.
We've got 3 laps to green, it looks like, right here. They might have extended it right before the line. Couldn't quite tell. I think it's just now coming to 2. So we're going to go ahead and take our final commercial break of the racing action. When we come back, we're taking this thing to the checkers.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Mhm. Welcome back to the Spartans Masters Series here from the Atlanta Motor Speedway. We're having a little bit of timing and scoring difficulties. That caution came out in the middle of the green flag pit cycle, and it seems like iRacing might have had some issues with the timing of the caution flag, as somehow Medina is in front of all the cars that should be taking the wave around, but I think that the league is just going to let them wave around either way, clear their black flags, because they should have been able to do it in nonetheless. And we see those wave around cars starting to go by now, even though Medina was out in front of them. So good job by the league there, kind of getting it sorted out, doing the right thing, because all those cars should have been on the lead lap after the issue that we saw. But it looks like Medina is going to be the race leader here in the 48. Kalen Mitchell is going to be in second place. Sammy Harrell in third. Scott Schroeder in fourth place. Art Nicotera rounds out the top five. So a few names we haven't really talked about all night. Medina, Harrell, Schroeder, Nicotera. I don't know if I've mentioned them. And all of a sudden, all four of them in the top five, and all the guys that we've been talking about as some of the bigger contenders, they're going to have to come through the field, and they only have 25 laps to do it.
Yeah, it has changed the whole dynamic of the race, and what we thought was kind of going to be almost a sure bet situation for these four guys out front now has become a gauntlet that they have to run. Oh, it's way more exciting.
And they're all still trying to get their running order sorted. We're coming up to the green. We got 3 wide through the middle of the pack. I'm really not sure. We got some arguments about what the track position, all the wave around cars, now single file. So a predominantly single file restart outside of the top 8. I mean, it is a long line of single file cars. So we're probably going to get a breakup in the middle of the pack. Nonetheless, Medina, your race leader down on the inside. He's going to bring us back to green with 25 laps to go, but I think he might have hit the chip or something, because Kalen Mitchell gets a better start.
Big stack up at the start line. There's going to be another yellow flag for sure. We got to go back and see that. There was a wreck there was a stack up that reverberated into a wreck the whole way down the middle of the line there. Watch what happens here as we get to the start line here, because here's the stack up, and there's the wreck.
Well, we kind of missed the wreck.
It's all yeah. It was
sure
there.
The
It was there. I swear.
We're gonna get another look at it. B-Saw here in the 3. You can see everybody kind of rolling the start, but it stacks up. Like a couple of these guys start going up here, and then. Okay, well I guess the guy that spun was a little bit further back than B-Saw.
It goes.
So.
Yeah, it goes back like 6 or 7 cars after that stack up, and I can't see exactly who it affected the most here, but that's the car that spun sideways.
Zodiac. That's
Zodiac.
Big impact to the left front for Zodiac. And I don't think Zodiac necessarily did anything super wrong. I mean, the guys in front of him started rolling the restart like we were going. And honestly, I think the front of the field was going, but somebody else just didn't get the memo. I couldn't quite tell who it was, that, the first car that didn't go with the rest of the leaders. I'm going to go back and kind of check myself, try to get some type of idea of who really was stacking up the inside lane. But just a very, very awkward restart.
It was exactly like that situation you see in crosstown in highway traffic where everyone's slowing down a little bit and you wonder why, and then you get to the spot where everyone's slowing down and there's just nothing. And all of a sudden you get to speed up a little bit. It was like that in fast motion, basically. One person can cause that to happen and the entire line behind will will suffer the effects of it. So if you can pinpoint the one, you'll find the rock in the pond that started the ripples.
I mean, it's tough. Like, Kazi had a big gap between him and Healy, but he didn't have a hard check on the brakes. It's just like everybody else started rolling behind Kazi. I don't know. It's a weird one. This is one that stewards are probably going to look at a ton after the race to try to assign fault. Kazi was kind of rolling, but he didn't stack up huge. But the guys behind him were kind of rolling a little bit faster than Kazi. And I don't know. I think there was just a lot of people doing some mildly wrong things there. Everybody trying to get as good of a restart as possible because they know we've been splitting up on these restarts into 2 separate packs, and with them being single file, it was risking something major for a lot of these guys that have been contenders. So I'm really not sure who to assign blame on. Kazi left a big gap to Healy. Healy kind of did a start stop, but Causey wasn't anywhere close, so I can't really put it on Healy because it's not like he stacked Causey up. And then the guys behind Causey, they didn't, I don't know, they went a little bit, but it wasn't super aggressive. And then Lou went more. I don't know, but I kind of feel bad putting it on Lou Christian because I don't think he did anything very wrong on that one either. That was just a very weird restart. I really don't know.
Yeah. I think that you just summed it up the best way you possibly could. It was a very weird restart. You had a lot of single file action in that restart. I think that psyched out a lot of people who were getting to the start finish line and thinking, when do I go? When do I go? And that just compounded. And what we saw was a whole bunch of people trying to find the right time to go and all falling behind by just a half a second. Not a half a second, even less than that. But that compounding effect, unfortunately, reverberated straight back into Kevin Zosiak. Like, have you ever done that thing when you were a kid where you, like, dropped a basketball with a ping pong ball on top of it?
Yes.
Or yeah, it's just that was Kevin Zosiak.
Or tennis ball. I think I used a tennis.
The tennis ball, right? He was the tennis ball in that experiment. All the energy just went into that car.
Well, a little bit of bad news and good news for Zosiak off of that. The bad news, obviously, going to the very, very back of the pack, though. The good news, now we're too wide, so maybe some more opportunities for moves rather than in single file. And Zosiak was able to get all the damage repaired. So ultimately, there was definitely some harm, but it was close enough to no harm, no foul that everybody's still in it. We got the normal double file restart, and we're going to have 21 laps to go whenever we come back down to the line. So hopefully a little bit cleaner restart this time. Caleb Mitchell able to take the race lead off of that. Medina on the outside in the number 48, going to be starting in second. Sammy Harrell third, Scott Schroeder fourth, and Colton Gardner rounds out the top five. So who's it going to be? Is it going to be one of those top five? Or will some of the guys that have been in the top five all night be able to work their way back through the pack? Caleb Mitchell back to the gas and back to the green flag with a huge shove from the 42. The front three get clear on the bottom side, and Chris Hudson does as well in fourth.
He's got it. Jose Medina tries to get down to the inside line, but he cannot. The guys out front are doing it. Another yellow flag is out. Jeffrey Goodpaster this time is a name that I'm seeing go across my list. Goodpaster on the inside. I guess he just got out of line hard enough that he came back up onto the track, and that was definitely what threw the yellow. Ooh, that one was right on the line, though.
This one's a little bit more straightforward, I feel. Going back, you're going to have to watch Reese Schaefer on the restart. He's behind Scott Healy. Everybody kind of gets going on the outside, but they get a huge stack up. Schaefer has to go to the bottom to avoid it, which I think was a good move. And then he threw a block on Sanchez way bottom. That was a little late. And Sanchez got stacked up, and then whenever Goodpaster was going around, he kind of cleared himself a little too early over Sanchez. So I kind of put a little bit of that on Schaefer because of the block that he threw on Sanchez when he did. And then Goodpaster also just cleared himself down into one, even though he wasn't clear yet. So I don't know. I would kind of share the blame between Goodpaster and Schaefer on that one, I guess.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'd probably give you the. I'd agree with that. I was gonna try to think of something else to say, but honestly, you yet again summed up my feelings on it pretty accurately.
I'm sorry for taking the words out of your mouth just about every week.
You know what? Yeah, it's like we're almost finishing each other's
pizza.
Ah, so close and yet so far.
Pizza's on my mind.
Pizza's now on my mind, you son of a gun.
My roommate cooked pizza and I didn't get any of it, so I'm kind of thinking about pizza.
That goes right into the book of grudges.
No. We split our own food. You know, we buy our own food. You know.
Okay, fair enough.
I could have asked for a slice probably, but I wasn't gonna do that. He took the time out to cook his pizza. I wasn't gonna steal any from him.
Fair enough.
But I did see the pizza and I was like, damn, that looks good. I kind of want some pizza. But I wouldn't let you finish my pizza. So I don't know. You know, kind of goes against what we were talking about. Nonetheless, hopefully we can finally get a good restart, so we can finish each other's races this time instead.
Yes, that'd be great.
Or at least the guys on the track can finish our race. That would be nice. So hopefully a clean restart, but I might be asking for a lot now at this point.
Yeah, we'll see. I think that isn't there? I think there's a league rule about a certain number of restarts leads to single file restart. I think that might not be helpful in this case.
I was about to say the single file restart's what caused the first one, right? So
Exactly.
I don't know if that would be a good move if we did it. I don't think it would actually help anything. So
Exactly.
nonetheless, we're only 2 deep, right? We're only 2 deep on back-to-back restarts. So
That's true.
stuff happens every now and again. Just huge stack-ups, man. People are trying to get the jump on the restart because of what we've seen time and time again. This new draft model, you're pulling people off the pack with a little bit of side drafting, and it's creating these 2 separate packs that we've seen time and time again. So people have learned from that, and they're trying to get all they can on the restart so that they are not a part of the second pack. They obviously want to be a part of the first one, but unfortunately it's leading to some hairy restarts.
Yeah. Now we get to see how Sammy Harrell on the outside can handle a restart of this line. If he can do the 2 guys leading these lines, Kalen Mitchell and Sammy Harrell, they have to have a nearly synchronized launch. Because if not, that outside line is going to start to try to seek the inside line as fast as possible. Any gap that forms, people are going to shoot for it. Anytime they turn the corner, they're going to try to get down as fast as they can. They've seen the guys leading this have been running single file a lot of the time and using each other's speed. Even with the laps that we have left, that's going to be the best bet for a lot of them. So I have a feeling that if these 2 guys don't have a really good synchronized start, you're going to see the second line dissolve almost immediately.
Looks like we're going to have 27 laps to go at the line, and if we can run green, they're going to fly by. Right, 27 laps here are going to take about 13 and a half minutes. So if we can run green, these last 27 laps or so are going to absolutely fly right on through. But it's going to be Kalen Mitchell to lead us back down to the restart zone once again. Sammy Harrell on his outside in second. Colton Gardner now in third. Hudson fourth. B-Saw in fifth. But here comes the number 67. And the Craftsman Tools Toyota coming down to the green flag. We're racing once again. 27 laps to go.
Halfway decent launch from Sammy Harrell. He's down close to the 40 of Colton Garner, giving him the side draft a little bit. We're getting through 1 and 2 now. Not too bad. The yellow's not out yet. We're still racing. Sammy Harrell getting the push from the 43 of Chris Hudson. Hudson on the outside, bumper to nose to bumper there on 42. Just giving him the push. Those 2 cars in sequence, 42 and 43.
A lot of guys having issues. I believe the 38 and the 55 have just gotten drive-throughs for incident level warnings. So a couple guys have to come down pit road over the course of the next couple laps to serve a black flag, but up to the top side of the racetrack. Sammy Harrell trying to lead that group. He's all the way down on the door of Robert B-Saw through turns 1 and 2, trying to get some help from the 43 behind.
And B-Saw cannot get past the 40. He can't get past Colton Garner, so he's going to have to stay there. And meanwhile, Sammy Harrell's got just enough speed. He's making it work.
Ooh, Johan with a big move further back to the top side of the racetrack. Big moment off of turn number 4, but up towards the race lead. Here comes Colton Gardner in that shiny number 40 to the bottom side of Kalen Mitchell, trying to take the race lead. The 67 has no help, but B-Saw all over the back bumper of the 40. They get offset coming off of turn number 2, and that's going to let the outside line come back with a huge shove to Kalen Mitchell.
Oh, Sammy Harrell in the black and gold. Really good bump to Kalen Mitchell. Looking good on the top line right now. Although, wait, I was just saying it looking good. It's not anymore. They lost some cohesion coming through there in the tri-oval. It's just a challenging spot to keep your line and to really predict what the move of the guy in front of you is going to be. People are going wide now. Hopefully they keep together. Here comes the 67 again on the outside. He's got it by a nose, and he's got the lead. Kalen Mitchell.
Kalen Mitchell all the way to the top side of the racetrack down the back straightaway, almost leaving a little bit too much room for Sammy Harrell down the back stretch if Harrell wanted to make a move. But here comes the move down to the inside. The number 42 trying to take the race lead. Oh, and a little bit of contact between him and Kalen Mitchell. He helped the 67 get up there and take the lead back. But now Sammy Harrell wants it for himself.
Wow, that was really a brother versus brother kind of moment there. Door to door, and they're door to door again right now. Mitchell says, no way, I'm going to keep that spot. Even though you helped me get here, I'm going to hold on to this place. Sammy Harrell deep into second place. It's a spot that he can hold on to, but I think that he needs to get a few car lengths ahead, and it's going to come from a mistake on the top line, but that mistake's not coming, not with the push he's getting from Chris Hudson.
Look at Chris Hudson. He's been one of the Mr. Consistencies of the year. He's been up towards the top 10 just about every time I've talked about him this season. And here he is once again towards the end of one of these super speedway races on the back bumper of your race leader, shoving him all the way down the back straightaway with 11 and a half laps to go. Can the 43 get himself clear so that he can make a move on Caleb Mitchell for the race leaders? He's got help from David Mayberry behind.
It's 145 out of 156, just 11 to go here. Chris Hudson, they're far enough ahead. If one of them wanted to make a move down to the inside, they could, but they're both staying up on the top line, using the speed. Here comes the move now, though, from 57. The 57 of Dave Mayberry shoots to the front.
What a move from Mayberry trying to get the run, but instead the top side has come. Joseph Cosby, the seas parted for him. Now he's all over the back bumper of the 67. Mayberry with a huge move down to the bottom, shoved Chris Hudson 3 wide. Now Hudson stuck in the sucker hole of the middle. He's got some help from Robert Besaw Jr., but they've fallen outside the top 5 and to the fringes of the top 10, while Kalen Mitchell, Joseph Cosby, Reese Schaefer, and Johan Seminario resume up in the race lead.
Wow, those are some names we've heard up there before, and they're already back up in the front. Meanwhile, in the middle, Hornet's Nest is going crazy. That was Jeffrey Goodpacer into the wall briefly. He's back up on his feet, though, a little shaken, not stirred. Still there on the bottom line, is falling apart slowly but surely. The 67 of Kalen Mitchell's got no help. He's falling back. Up in the front, it's Joseph Cosby.
Cosby from the back to the front after having to take the wave. Oh, they're wrecking Sammy Harrell hard into the outside wall. Kevin Zosiak up there with him. Harrell just fighting for the race lead a couple laps ago. Now pointed backwards against the fence. Driver's side up against that green wall here at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. Kevin Zosiak sliding down to the bottom side of the racetrack, and we're going to get a replay to see what happened coming down into turn number 1. Besaw split in the middle. Sammy Harrell stuck down on the bottom side of the track. He goes to the middle and makes some contact with the right rear of David Mayberry, and I couldn't quite tell if Mayberry came up or if that was too tight of a side draft from the 42.
I think Mayberry came up a little bit. I don't think he saw him, and I think he came up a little bit up into him and just sent him up into Zosiak. You can see it. I don't know. We'll get another angle on that replay, but you'll see the moment that Mayberry comes up, and I'm not going to call it a netcode, but it's definitely probably closer to a racing incident.
Getting one more replay here on Grid Vision, watching Sammy Harrell come down the front straight away. He's going to make a move to the outside of David Mayberry. These guys were just fighting for the lead. Now they're on the fringes of the top 10. Harrell down on the bottom, gets a bit of the run on the 57 as the camera pans over. Peeking to the outside. They stack up down on the bottom. And the 57 widening out the entry of the corner. And I do feel like he drifted up maybe just a little bit too much. Harrell's definitely holding him down low, but maybe the 57 just drifted off that red line ever so slightly too much. And, oh, you hate to see that for the 42. The right rear completely getting knocked off the car. That's going to be too much damage to continue for Sammy Harrell after such a strong run.
So close to the end too, and yeah, Mayberry. If I watch the line again with that angle, he was trying to stay tucked in behind a good pastor, and to stay behind there, he needed to get to the right. But then, as soon as he made contact, it was like a magnet situation. Couldn't get the car off of him. Ended up just pushing, as opposed to that hard like left hook kind of situation. It was a push, and that push is what ended up causing that two-car situation.
You know, we've seen these guys up in the top 4 work together all night long. Causey, Schaefer, Seminario, and Healy. Right? They have worked together. They've gotten themselves up to the front multiple times. But coming to this restart, we're going to have about 5 laps to go. I think we'll restart on 152, so we'll have 52, 53, 54, 55, and 56. So we'll have 5 laps to go under green, if we can stay green. At this point, I feel like the alliance is going to have to go out the window. At this point, it's got to be every man for himself, right? If you're Reese Schaefer, get off the back bumper of Joseph Cosby and kill him. Not like kill him, but like beat him. Beat him heads up on the racetrack. Drive his doors off. Do not give him anything. Cosby's won enough races in here. Schaefer hasn't won one yet this season. So if you're that number 97, don't teammate restart this thing. Do not teammate restart this thing. You better pass that dude.
I'm taking a look at the Masters Series Championship standings right now as we're down to the 1 to go. And it looks like... Actually, Reese Schaefer did win just one this season so far.
Where did he win?
That I do not know. I will have to look that one up. Let me pull up the chart here as we're getting ready to get things restarted, and I will let you know in about 30 seconds or so.
I don't remember him winning. I remember him finishing second at Michigan, him wrecking from the lead at Daytona Road Course. It must have been in 2024 that he had won. I can't remember.
He won at Bristol.
Bristol. So that would have been
November 26th.
Okay. So it's been a little while. So Reese has won one, but still, if you're the 97, Causey's won 3 or 4 of these things. So
that's true.
Get up on the wheel. Do not let the 88 cut in front of you. Take this lead away from that dude. Give it everything you got, Reese. And if you're Johan or Healy behind, this is the moment, right? If you're Scott Healy, he's been riding in 3rd and 4th all night long. Now starting on the outside right behind Causey. He's got an opportunity, if they do teammate restart, to lead that lane. So get the push from Kalen Mitchell, pinch that bottom side, and see what happens. Either way, we're about to find out.
Yeah, they're getting ready. This is, I think that your will for them to throw the alliances out the window is going to make things really exciting. Let's see if they heard you.
Coming up to the restart zone. 5 laps to go whenever we go racing here. Joseph Causey, your race leader. Back to the gas, back to the green flag. We're racing again. Causey already clear of Reese Schaefer as we come down to turn number 1. They teammate restarted it. I cannot believe Reese Schaefer has given it to Causey. Nonetheless, he's going to be on the back bumper coming through 1 and 2 as that outside line falters.
The outside line became nothing, and it's going to fold into the inside line as fast as possible, I think. Or maybe not. It looks like Van Schack is going to stay on the outside just a little bit, but I think that, with only 5 laps to go, he's going to need some serious help to make his way up with this pack of 4.
Yeah, Van Schack to the outside with Chris Hudson, and he's got Robert Visaw Jr. and Lou Christian behind him, but they need to go down on the bottom side of the racetrack now. They're clear. Get the draft from the cars in front. Try to gain, but he's staying committed to the top. You can't do that. You've got to stay in the draft of the cars in front, and he gets shucked out because of that. Chris Hudson says you cannot be doing that. You got to stay in the draft. Van Schack going backwards on the outside as Hudson's getting the push from Visaw, trying to catch this lead group of 6.
Lead group of 6 is bigger than, it's bigger than 4, but most of it is teammates. So in this case, the ones that we're talking about that are not related would be the James McRae variety. I think everybody else is one sim, isn't it?
The top three
yes,
are one sim.
There we go.
Coming down to the last 2 laps this time by. At some point, Reese is going to make the move, and it's going to bring somebody else into this thing. If you're Scott Healy and Johan, when do you make the move? They're both Team Conti. I know Johan is one sim with the 2 in front of him, but you got a Conti teammate behind you. So get to the back bumper of Scott Healy and make the move. Try to control both lanes before somebody else makes the move because they're starting to get racy further back. Instead, James McRae is going to go to the outside first.
James McRae goes to the outside. Seminario falls back a little bit. The top group of 4 spreads out just slightly, but nope. Seminario tries for the block. Doesn't get it. James McRae says, nope, I'm going to take your bubble instead.
Johan kind of hit the block. He brought McRae down to the bottom with him, and it's kind of shuffled McRae out of the race for the win. Instead, it's Kalen Mitchell getting a huge shove from Chris Hudson on the top side of the racetrack. Can they keep the momentum around the outside this entire way around? Can they do anything to Reese Schaefer and Joseph Causey as they come down the back? One final time. They've gotten separated further back, and it's kind of become a 2-car tango. Up at the front, Reese Schaefer all over the back bumper of Joseph Causey, just like we saw at the end of stage number 1. He didn't make a move at the end of stage 1. Can he make the move now? Where does the number 97 go? Coming off of turn number 4 on the last lap. Staying committed to the back bumper. What the hell, Reese? Come on, man. Make a move. I cannot. What? Why was there no move? What?
And that's going to be Joseph Causey, Reese Schaefer, and Johan Seminario for the unofficial 1, 2, 3. You really didn't like that, did you?
No.
Yeah, I kind of wanted more out of that one too from Reese Schaefer. I gotta say, we're gonna have to give it to him. I'll give him an earful when we're here. I'm gonna hear what was going through his head there.
I
Do you want to interview him?
I get the teammate finish. Okay, I get it. I get the teammate restart. I get working together until you come into 3 or off of 4. I get it. But I've full disclaimer, I'm buddies with Justin Levine. I've wrecked him for the win in one of these things, and wrecked us both at Homestead a few years ago. If we're side by side, come to the line at Daytona or Atlanta, I'm door slamming the hell out of him. And I expect it fully back from him. But mean, I guess I want Reese Schaefer as a teammate because he's just going to push me to the win.
We're gonna see.
I'm a little miffed. I can't believe he didn't make a move. At least side draft, do something. I'm not asking him to wreck him, but I'm shocked.
There may be
was
more
not
to
a
it.
move.
There may be more to it.
What could be more to it? I'm
just playing the benefit of the doubt commentator guy. I gotta do the other role. I can't just be like, you're right all the time. Remember, if you read my mind, it just gets boring for the viewers.
I agree, but I feel like I am right in this case. If you're coming off of turn number 4 and you're single file, you got to shove from behind like you did from Johan coming out of the corner. You got to make a move. I don't know. That's just that sits sour. That sits sour to me. I got to be honest.
Do you want some? Can I buy you an ice cream? That might help.
No.
Oh, okay.
I'm pissed.
Let's do the results, buddy. How about that?
I guess we'll do the full field rundown. Joseph Kazi, your race winner after he didn't have to do anything. Reese Schaefer in second because he didn't do anything. Johan Seminario in third. He tried to push Reese, but Reese didn't do anything. Fourth place is Kalen Mitchell. Fifth place, Chris Hudson. Sixth, Robert Esau Jr. James McRae in seventh. Lou Christian in eighth. Scott Healy in ninth. Sorry, I'm a little frustrated. 10th is Charles Van Schack.
11th is Jeffrey Goodpaster. 12th is Mark Sanchez. 13th, Chad Genningsman. 14th, Scott Shorter. 15th, David Mayberry. 16th, Adam Pettit. 17th, Jose Medina. 18th, Cody Riggs. 19th, Art Nicotera. And 20th, Kyle Westwood.
21st place was Jordan Zaylers. 22nd, Evan Ethel. 23rd, Colton Gardner. 23rd, Colton Gardner. 24th, Kevin Zosiak. 25th, Sammy Harrell. Kyle Gerlach in 26th. 27th, Corey Atkins. 28th, Christoph Hall. 29th, David Salter. 30th was Jarrett Feltman with 31st, Chad Kibbe. 32nd, PB Henry. 33rd, Cody Curran. And Justin Levine finishes in the 34th place position. Here tonight, apparently his DQ made him 156 laps down, even though I know he was not 156 laps down. So not quite sure how that worked out in the iRacing scoring. But nonetheless, that's your full field rundown. So we're going to give an interview to the top 3 to figure out why nobody did anything. So first up, we're going to pull up Johan Seminario. Johan, it was a great job from y'all getting back up through the field. You know, after y'all got cycled through the back with the wave around. Come to the line, were you expecting anything more? Were you expecting a move from Reese that could have maybe gotten y'all 3 wide to the finish, or what was running through y'all's heads?
Well, I can only be so aggressive is the best way I can word it. I know Reese is going to be stuck with Kazi, and I had Scott behind me. Scott's a good friend of mine. And I know I was going to plan to take it to the outside with 1 to go, but unfortunately Scott and I got a little tangled up entering 1 because I saw the high lane come up, and eventually it just screwed up Scott, and he just lost the draft behind me, so I was just kind of left behind Reese. So I knew at that point I couldn't do nothing with both of them pushing. I was going to try to side draft Reese to take second, but you guys saw that insane block I threw on the last lap to get outside lane from chugging. About killed myself for it for the guys, but just did what I had to do.
Johan, it was a good team race, finishing 1, 2, 3 here tonight. Do you have anybody to thank at the end of this one?
Yeah, I mean, as always, shout out to my boys, One Sim. I mean, I was not gonna race today. Them boys convinced me to come back. Great group of guys. Always have good enjoyment with them. Always have a great time. Met a lot of them, including yourself at Daytona. You know, goes to show. Shout out to Team Conti and their awesome setups. The boys always put in the hard work, and obviously you guys for the great streams. Always love watching them. Hopefully my internet spazzing today didn't cause too much troubles, but I think it was a good show.
Well, Johan, we appreciate the kind words. Congratulations on the top 3 finish, and looking forward to seeing what you can do next week.
All right, man. Thank you. Bye.
Alrighty, that was your 3rd place finisher of Johan Seminario. Next up, we're going to pull up our 2nd place finisher so that Joe LaCastro can interrogate him, and that's going to be Reese Schaefer.
Reese Schaefer, do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right. Why didn't you try to make the pass on Joseph Kazi?
Because that is my teammate, and I'm a weird race car driver where I race for how I race I grade my races basically is how I can describe it, and like
Oh,
I felt like I raced an A- race, and so no matter where I finished, I was happy. That's kind of the way
yeah,
I've always done it, and that's why
I like that.
I didn't pass him.
I like that. That's a man of honor. Oh, and a man who knows the quality of his race, and your race was a solid one. You were part of that group that found their way up to the front just about every time there, and at the line, yeah, I'm shielding you. You don't know how protected you are right now from the wrath of Austin Edstrom, but
I heard it was
you're-
bad. I'm sorry, Austin. I'm sorry.
I'm
I'm
pissed.
sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
but it was a moment that we were all holding our breath, looking for it. So maybe next time, is there an evil twin, a Shees Rafer maybe that that we can see next week who will throw that move?
Probably because it's a road course, so yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it'll probably be- yeah, it's probably especially at Kodo because it's gonna be the S's and stuff. It's people are gonna get blocked, and it's just gonna be mayhem, especially the last sector. But yeah,
All right,
it's fun.
looking forward to it. Anybody you want to shout out to today?
Yeah, like to thank my girlfriend's watching. Emily. She's always supports me. I love having her along. My dad always watching. Love him. Grandpa usually watches. So got a lot of family that always watch every night, and they love the show you guys put on. You guys do such a great job, and I'd like Mid Michigan Milk Producer Association on the hood, and yeah, I'd like to thank the One guys. It's always so much fun racing them, and yeah, it was a great race tonight. Like I said, we stayed up front all night, stayed clean, which is the most important part, and came home P2. We'll take it all day.
All right. Well, thank you for your time, and good luck next week. We'll see you then.
Thank you guys, and sorry, Austin. Please don't kill me.
I hate you.
I'm gonna pass it back to Austin Edstrom to talk to our race winner.
Yep, that was our second place finisher of Reese Schaefer. Next up, we're going to talk to the race winner that made moves to get himself to the front. Joseph, what was running through your mind coming off of turn 4? Were you expecting Reese to be a pussy, or were you expecting him to actually race you?
I didn't know what their exact thought was. It was more like I said, that was a team win, to be honest with you. I just happened to be in the front, at the time when I was getting pushed most of the time, and like I was expecting him to make a move, but he ended up did it because I think he was more worried about losing positions to the outside. So that's why it ended up being like it was, and we stayed as a team. And like I said, without those two, I'm not finishing up here, probably at the front. Those two pushed me all day long. We were class of the field when we're all together, and without them two, this win doesn't happen.
Well, Joseph, how did y'all work? Back through the pack, right? Y'all were dominating the race for most of it. You got stuck a lap down under that yellow flag. Had to take the wave around. Just talk us through working back through the pack. That's whenever y'all were making the moves. So how did y'all get back to the lead?
Before we had that, I think it was a caution going into one. I know I jumped a lot of positions, or I was able to. I don't know who were on the outside. I think they were in second gear or something because the whole outside line checked up, and I was able to jump a lot of positions on the bottom, which propelled me to like 8th. And then we had the caution, and then I was ahead of Johan and Reese, and then we took that next green, and then Johan was at the bottom. I was gonna go at the bottom, but Johan ended up covering off, and then I stayed at the top, and then the top started running, and then we all synced back together. And then when they went 3 wide, it was basically all over. I followed Caitlin. He's our unknown teammate, basically, for Keegan. We're all together, and I pushed him forward, and we just went to the front. I wanted to take Caitlin with me when we were trying to pick up Scott Healy because he was working with us as well, but I didn't have comms with Caitlin, so he got left out the drive.
Well, I just got to point out he does not have a T in his name. His name is Kalen. But Joseph, who do you have to thank at the end of this one?
Hey, I gotta thank those two that pushed me. Hey, like I said, the race doesn't, I don't get the win without those two. So big thanks to those two. Without them, the win doesn't happen for me.
Well, Joseph, congratulations on the win tonight, and looking forward to seeing if you can keep this high flying season going next week.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Alrighty, that was your race winner of Joseph Kazi, after he went unchallenged to the line at a super speedway. Because we're doing that now. Nonetheless, Joe, what did you have to think of that one? I'm sorry, I'm honestly a little pissed. Like, if you can't tell, I'm a little pissed off. So, Joseph, what about you? Are you as furious as I am?
I am the indomitable source of goodwill and cheer that I am week after week. You will never defeat me.
All right, we're kicking you next week. You're never coming back.
All right, you know what? I kind of wanted to see a little more action there at the end too. But we had a lot of action during this race. This was an action-packed race. We had 165 laps that flew by, and there was a lot that went on. So even to the end, didn't quite have the pop bang zoom that we wanted out of the pack there. I think that there's a lot of pop bang zoom that's going to come next week out of the road course. So let's see what happens.
Well, we are going to have to wait and see what happens at COTA whenever we go racing in 1 week's time. But that's going to do it from us here at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. So from Grid Vision, we'd like to thank you for watching and participating in the chat. For more information on getting your league broadcasted or starting your career in broadcasting, contact us on Facebook, X, or email us at info@gridvision.live. Congratulations to Joseph Kazi on winning tonight's race from the Atlanta Motor Speedway. This has been Austin Edstrom standing alongside Joe LaCastro and Taylor Burris behind the production booth. We will see you next time on the grid.